Chapter 132. Gutless scoundrel. The next time we meet, I will tear you into pieces and eat your bones. Shun Lian sneered. Crimson flame saber burst into flames. The raging flames spread out and crackled with crackling sounds. He set fire to Krite's lair. Shun Lian quickly climbed back to the top of the cliff, grabbing Fu Chongshan and jumping up, quickly returning to the camp. Everyone was busy treating the injured and taking care of each other. They were on high alert. How are the casualties? Shun Lian asked in a heavy voice. He was in a bad mood. Krite's sneak attack made him very unhappy. Kanya replied in pain. Over 30 people died. Over 200 were injured. These deaths all happened in a breath's time. Thankfully, before we set off, we brought enough antidotes and treated them in time. The injured should not continue to deteriorate. The death toll will not increase. Shun Lian's gaze turned cold. He stared at Jin Rinyu and shouted, "Speak, what happened?" Everyone stared at Jin Rinyu angrily. It was all this woman's fault. Jin Rinyu, who was still in shock, jumped in fright, seeing everyone staring at her angrily. She suddenly felt very wronged and said with tears in her eyes, "How would I know what happened? I'm also a victim. Why are you all looking at me like that?" Shun Lian walked forward and tried to control his emotions. He calmed down and said slowly, "Tell me everything you know, especially about the king of the golden-ringed Krite. For example, his ability, his accompanying goo, and so on." Jin Rinyu calmed her emotions. She wiped her tears and said, "I have never seen him fight. I only know that his companion goo is called Snake Shadow Goo. His shadow can move according to his will, transforming into many interesting and fun pictures, and can even make things appear." Her words were still evasive. Regarding the story of Rinzu that Krite told her and the unknown liquid that he forced her to drink, she buried it deep in her heart. She did not dare and did not want to mention it to anyone. Snake Shadow Goo. Shadow. Shun Lian could not help but look at his own shadow on the ground. The others also lowered their heads, staring at their own shadows. They felt their scalps turning numb. It was as if in the next moment, a snake demon with a bloody mouth would appear from their shadows. Just thinking about it gave them goosebumps. It was too terrifying. Snake Shadow Goo. It should be a spatial type goo. It can teleport demons through shadows. Liang Qizhu analyzed. I wonder if this snake shadow ability will weaken or strengthen at night. Shun Lian pondered for a while and said, "The Golden Ring Snake King appeared first, and then released the Snake Demon for a sneak attack. From this, we can infer that the Golden Ring Snake King may have to be on the spot to activate the teleportation ability of the Snake Shadow Goo." Kanya could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Then I don't need to be nervous all the time. Otherwise, I would have to be suspicious of my own shadow all day. Sooner or later, I would be nervous to death. Thinking about it, if Krite could lock onto someone's shadow from far away, and could release the snake demon to sneak attack someone through that person's shadow, then he would not need to go out to hunt for food. He could just stay at home and eat until he was full. Bu Lingkong looked at the thick smoke rising from Sanya Mountain and asked, "Where is Krite?" Shun Lian curled his lips. "This guy ran away without fighting. I burned down his lair and exterminated the remaining snake demons." Bu Lingkong laughed. It seems that Krite was also afraid of Elder Shun's divine valiance and escaped without a trace. Speaking of which, this time it was all thanks to Elder Shun's prompt response and decisive handling. Otherwise, our casualties would have been even more disastrous. Bien Chanyu was grateful and said with a smile, "Younger brother Shin saved my life." Yuan was also full of gratitude as he cupped his hands and thanked. And me, if Elder Shin did not act in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. And me, it was Elder Shun who saved my life. All of a sudden, many people who were still in fear stood up and bowed to Shun Lian, sincerely grateful. If Shun Lian did not release that large-scale killing sword move, killing all the giant snake demons, many people present would have been in danger. They were all people who were on the verge of death and were saved by Shun Lian. It could be said that they had been saved from death's door, so they were naturally grateful to Shun Lian and treated him like a god. But they did not know that the reason why Shun Lian was able to discover Krite in time was because with the arrival of Jinryu, a huge black vortex appeared in the sky and shrouded everyone. At that moment, he concluded that everyone would be in danger. Because of this, he repeatedly ordered to strengthen their vigilance and was the first to discover that there was a problem with Jinryu's shadow and quickly launched a counterattack. We are all brothers in the same robe. It is only right that we support each other. Shunlian cupped his hands and smiled slightly, not showing any arrogance. Almost at the same time, the black vortex condensed inwards and turned into the power of calamity, flashing and entering Shunlian's forehead. The power of calamity ended like this. It means that Jinryu is not the source of calamity. She was used by Krite. Shunlian thought. Although Nu Kuan's side suffered losses, looking at the result, his side had thwarted Krite's sneak attack, destroyed his nest, and protected Jinryu. It was actually a complete victory. At this time, the interface flashed and the information was updated. Calamity Goo, Silver Rank 1, Special Effect, Chaotic Vortex, Heart Demon Pollution, Image of Heaven and Earth, Image of Solemnity, Calamity Goo has finally evolved to Silver Rank. It has an additional Image of Solemnity Special Effect, and also obtained 3,000 points of confusion. With one look, Shunlian could not help but be overjoyed. He was incomparably excited. Standing high up, he raised his arms and shouted. In this attack on Tsanya Mountain, everyone worked together as one. Not only did we successfully rescue Jinryu, we also killed hundreds of snake demons and even destroyed the Snake King's nest. Victory at the start. Hearing this, everyone's spirits were lifted and they cheered. Victory at the start. Victory at the start. Like a tsunami, their voices shook the heavens. The next day, good news was sent back to Nu Kuan. Man Boyu stood in front of the window on the 5th floor with a solemn expression. The wind blew his white hair messily, and a chill continued to rise. Sigh. I endured for 7 years, and finally defeated Chao Yuqing with great difficulty. But unexpectedly, I let a wolf into the house and nurtured an even more terrifying Chao Yuqing. Man Boyu was mentally and physically exhausted. In this half a month, he had thought of countless plans, but he still could not find a way to suppress Shunlian. Endure. I will continue to endure. I endured Chao Yuqing for 7 years. I can also endure Shunlian for 7 more years. One day, I will find a way to catch all of these traitors in one fell swoop and get rid of the resentment in my heart. Man Boyu clenched his fists. Right now, he could not do anything to Shunlian, but that did not mean that he could not do anything in the future. Let Shunlian be arrogant for a few more years. As long as he endured patiently, he would definitely make a comeback. As he thought about this, the agitation in Man Boyu's heart slowly calmed down, and he became relaxed. It was as if he had entered retirement mode like the other vice sect leader, Su Fu, who stood aloof from worldly affairs. At this moment, a person hurriedly rushed in and exclaimed, "Leader, are you really going to abdicate your position?" This person was Man Boyu's confidant. His position in the gang was equal to Wu Yenzong's. Hearing his anxious exclamation, Man Boyu frowned and asked in reply, "What abdication?" After Elder Shun's good news came, there was a sudden rumor in the gang that you have decided to abdicate and pass the position of leader to Elder Shun. What? Nonsense! Man Boyu roared angrily. Who is spreading this kind of rebellious rumor? Arrest him immediately. Arrest. The confidant's expression was extremely ugly. Leader, it's not just one person spreading this rumor. It's the whole gang spreading it. Everyone believes it to be true. Man Boyu's heart skipped a beat. Anger, resentment, and relief appeared on his face. He fell into a chair and murmured, "It's over. It's all over. He's forcing me to abdicate." "Who's forcing you to abdicate?" The confidant asked cautiously. He had previously believed that Man Boyu was really going to abdicate his position, but now it seemed that this was not the case. Man Boyu said dejectedly, "Amazing. First, he completely overthrew me. Then he used everyone's desire. Shunlian, you win. You win." For days later, Shunlian and the others returned triumphantly. Before the main group arrived, The news had already reached New Kuan. All the gang members ran out to welcome them, lining the streets to welcome them. Shen Lian rode on a tall horse and walked at the front of the group. He was in high spirits. Look, Elder Shun is back. Elder Shun is so amazing. He actually broke into the monster's nest. This is a magnificent feat that has never been done before. What Elder Shun? It's Shun Bangzhu. Long live the leader. Long live the leader. The gang members lining the streets to welcome them cheered excitedly. Their shouts were like a tide, shaking the sky. What's going on? Why are they calling Shun Lian the leader? Gong Sun Ji and the others looked at each other, a little dumbfounded. I didn't expect it to be so soon. Liang Qizhu and Bu Lingkong looked at each other, their expressions meaningful. Kong Yu widened his old eyes and exclaimed, "Are they crazy?" Bian Shanyu was also stunned. How could they shout such disgraceful words? Don't forget, Man Boyu was still in that position. How could Man Boyu have any face left in this situation? If Man Boyu was angry and punished Shun Lian according to the gang's rules, then, at this moment, Shun Lian was at a loss. Zhang Lianyo asked, "Is the leader here? Where's the leader?" Wu Yinzong shouted, "Elder Shun, they're calling you the leader." Shun Lian was stunned at first, then immediately became angry and said, "How dare you? Such disgraceful words. What do you think of me? Slap your mouth." "Yes, yes." Wu Yinzong slapped his own face. The thunder was loud, but the rain was small. It didn't hurt, but there was a trace of a smile on the corner of his mouth. Shun Lian was terrified. He quickly said to Kong Yu and the others, "Everyone, you have to be my witnesses." They suddenly call me that. What is going on? Bu Lingkong smiled and said, "There is a reason for this. When we return to New Kuan, we will know. Elder Shun, please don't worry. We will advance and retreat with you." Chapter 133. Thank you, everyone. Shun Lian still looked uneasy. Then, they all entered New Kuan and went straight to the 5th floor. They came to Man Boyu's study. Faction leader said that he will only see Elder Shun. He asked the others to wait in the conference hall. The guard in front of the door said. Shun Lian looked back at Kong Yu and the others. He smiled and said, "Then please wait in the conference hall." "Okay," Kong Yu answered and left with the others. Shun Lian pushed the door open and entered. Man Boyu was sitting behind the desk. His eyes were majestic. Shun Lian met his gaze and walked forward. He bowed and said, "Shun Lian greets faction leader. Long live faction leader." Man Boyu crooked his mouth and said with a cold smile, "I don't deserve to be called long live faction leader. Life is like a game of chess. If you make one wrong move, you will lose the whole game. How can you be long live faction leader?" Shun Lian said lightly, "Faction leader is wise. However, I don't think life is like a game of chess. Only those who treat others as chess pieces would think life is like a game of chess." "Heh, Elder Shun is so young, but you often have shocking opinions and shocking actions. You are always unexpected and unpredictable." Man Boyu narrowed his eyes and snorted. "Since you think life is not like a game of chess, then I want to know, is Shi Song Tian a chess piece to you?" Shun Lian smiled and asked back. After Wu Yinzong caught Shi Song Tian, faction leader had the opportunity to put him on trial immediately. "Why didn't you?" Man Boyu's face twitched. He said coldly, "If I put him on trial immediately, he wouldn't have to die. I don't know if he would die or not, because at that time his life and death were completely up to faction leader to decide." Man Boyu thought for a while. It seemed to be true. He smiled bitterly and said, "How did Shi Song Tian die?" Shun Lian said calmly, "Didn't the gang leader already investigate clearly? Shi Song Tian is guilty of the most heinous crimes. Even death cannot wipe out his crimes." The Man Boyu chuckled coldly. "Even now, you're still watertight. Forget it. I won't pursue this matter. There's no point in pursuing it. However, there's one thing I can't figure out. When did you start plotting for the position of gang leader before joining New Kuan? Are you Wan Yin's men?" Shun Lian laughed in spite of himself. "Why do you ask, Bangzhu? Isn't it obvious? How long has it been since you joined New Kuan? You haven't cultivated any connections, yet you're able to call the wind and summon the rain in the gang. There were people who helped you get rid of Shirt, Song Tian, and there were people who helped you build momentum and force me to give up my position. Without a huge network, it would be impossible to succeed. From the moment you suddenly killed Qi Lian at Wei River Huku, and from the moment Wan Yin requested to only negotiate with you, I suspected that you were one of Wan Yin's men. That bitch is ambitious and unscrupulous. In order to gain control of a larger force, she secretly nurtured you and plotted for New Kuan's authority. I'm not too surprised, but you've always been able to advance by leaps and bounds, shocking the world time and time again. I wouldn't believe that you didn't have someone nurturing you from behind. Man Boyu spread out his hands and said coldly. Hearing this, Shun Lian touched the tip of his nose, not knowing whether to laugh or to cry. It had to be said that Man Boyu guessed one thing correctly. The one who built momentum and forced Man Boyu to give up his position was indeed Wan Yin. Wan San had been managing the Gu Garden for many years. He was a smooth talker and had recruited countless talents, infiltrating many large forces. Even New Kuan's inner circle had been bribed by the Gu Garden. It was not difficult for them to spread rumors. Of course, it takes two hands to clap. Shun Lian's high popularity and prestige could not be separated from the fact that he was able to spread such a rebellious rumor and gain the trust of most people. It felt like success was a matter of course. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to succeed. Those who had too much merit usually did not have a good ending. As for Shi Song Tian, he died at the hands of Shun Lian. Shi Song Tian, who was severely injured by Wu Yinzong, had his vitality taken away by Shun Lian's autumn wind leaves. Adding on the mental attack of apprehension, it was not difficult for him to go crazy and commit suicide. Moreover, his method was ingenious, making it impossible for others to find out the true cause of Shi Song Tian's death. Man Boyu was indeed a sly old fox. He forcefully linked something he could not understand to Wan Yin. To put it bluntly, he was unresigned and unconvinced. He felt that he did not lose to Shun Lian. If Shun Lian did not obtain the support of the Gu Garden, Man Boyu would not have suffered such a crushing defeat. Even now, he still hasn't given up. Shun Lian thought to himself. He earnestly cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, gang leader. I'm not one of Wan Yin's people. I have never coveted the position of gang leader. I am loyal and loyal." Man Boyu was stunned and speechless. After a while, he stood up and said with a gloomy expression, "Shun Lian, you want to take the position of gang leader from me? It's not that easy. We'll have to see if you have the ability to do so." Before he finished speaking, Man Boyu suddenly jumped up from behind the desk and pressed his palm towards Shun Lian's head. The wind howled as it pressed down on Shun Lian's head. This scene was very similar to the first time Shun Lian met Man Boyu. At that time, Man Boyu was very modest and also sincerely admired Shun Lian. That extremely powerful palm strike was purely to test him. It was light and had no power to speak of. But this palm strike was extremely ruthless and filled with killing intent. "I am a silver rank 8. Shun Lian, show me your true ability." Man Boyu shouted unwillingly and sent a palm strike towards Shun Lian's head. At this moment, all 5 apertures in Shun Lian's body were sealed. This meant that Grandmaster Gu, Snake Jade Gu, Wind Rising Gu, Dodge Gu, and Wedding Dress Gu could not be used. This also meant that the 2 demon weapons, Heaven Eroding Sword and Crimson Flame Saber, could not be used. His remaining methods were his strong physique, Dragon Claw attack, and Calamity, Gu's Divine Soul attack. With gang leader above, if you want to hit me, how can I retaliate? Shun Lian smiled coldly and did not move. Whoosh! Suddenly, a huge creature appeared above Shun Lian's head. It was half scorpion and half snake, and its whole body was covered in black flames. The flames burned fiercely and engulfed heaven and earth, shaking the universe. Calamity Avatar, condensed into a real body. It could be seen with the naked eye and could leave the body. This was Avatar Solemnity. It was also known as Primordial Spirit, leaving the body. Man Boyu stared with his eyes wide open, and his whole body instantly turned cold as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His hair stood on end. He screamed in fear and fell down like a kite with a broken string. His whole body went soft, and after landing, he could not stand properly and directly knelt on the ground in front of Shun Lian. Shun Lian looked down at him from above. The Calamity avatar above his head was also looking down at him. You, man Boyu shuddered and shivered. His face was pale as if he was a pitiful child who had a nightmare and actually cried. Gang leader, you are tired. You should rest. Shun Lian said calmly and indifferently. Man Boyu hugged his head and curled up into a ball. On this day, Man Boyu announced his retirement. Shun Lian politely declined again and again before taking over the position and becoming New Kuan's gang leader. On the same day, the old Sufu also announced his retirement. Shun Lian promoted Bu Lingkong to be the deputy gang leader to assist him together with Kong Yu. When the news spread, congratulations came from all directions. Wan Yin was the first to congratulate his ally and sent Shuangxi to deliver a bottle of elemental water. Family Lin's outer family head Lin Yuanjin also sent a bottle of elemental water as a congratulatory gift and assigned a person to be his liaison. Coincidentally, this person was Lin Yuanchang, Lin Yuanshou, and Lin Xiaoping. In order to obtain the blood infant venomous insect, committed heinous crimes, and finally provoked Shun Lian and died in Snow Ridge City. After that, Lin Yuanchang came to collect their corpses. However, Lin Yuanchang handled it carelessly and allowed Shun Lian to easily escape death. It's all fate. Shun Lian had not met Lin Yuanchang yet, but he was somewhat looking forward to meeting her. On the wide road, the nearly 100-meter-long procession moved slowly. The curtain of the carriage in the middle was suddenly lifted, revealing a mischievous face. Sister Bai Ling, when will we reach Ronghua City? Shen Xiaoshu looked around and asked in a slightly depressed tone, looking at Bai Ling, who was riding a horse. Soon. There's still a day or two to go, Bai Ling replied with a smile. A day or two? Shen Xiaoshu was speechless and pouted unhappily. In the carriage, the second mother hugged Shen Xiaoshu and smiled. Girl, what's the hurry? Why? Do you miss your brother Lian? Shen Xiaoshu nodded and said in an old-fashioned manner, Without my protection, I don't know if anyone would bully him. The second mother did not know whether to laugh or cry. She rolled her eyes and said, You're so mischievous. Your brother Lian doesn't need your protection. Shen Wangquan laughed and joked, He needs it, he needs it. Without my Xiaoshu's protection, little Lian won't be happy. Shen Xiaoshu suddenly raised his chin proudly. In another spacious carriage, the third mother, fourth mother, fifth mother, and sixth mother who was holding a baby in her arms gathered together. Sigh, little Lian has made a name for himself in Ronghua City, but my Fong? Third mother shook her head with a headache expression. Fourth mother also sighed. Yes, I heard from Bai Ling that little Lian has become the elder of the biggest gang in the north, New Kun. He's in charge of thousands of troops and horses. He's very powerful. Fifth mother smiled and said, It's the Shun family's blessing that little Lian has made a name for himself. When we reach Ronghua City, we'll also bask in his glory. Sixth mother nodded and said with a smile, My child hasn't been named yet. When the time comes, I'll ask little Lian to give him a good name. I hope he'll be as successful as little Lian in the future. In the retinue team, Uncle Sun, who had lost his arm, was in high spirits. He said with a smile, Let me tell you, my stormy wave swordsmanship took me dozens of years to master, but little Lian only took half a month to master it. He even surpassed me. When talking about these things, Uncle Sun's face was full of glory. Uncle Sun, you've said this hundreds of times. We've heard it so many times that our ears have grown calluses. The tall and sturdy Mao Dehai laughed. This time, the Shun family had invited people from the Cave Mountain stockade to escort them along the way. Chapter 134. The next afternoon, a majestic city appeared at the end of the road. It was like a giant beast hibernating. It was much bigger than Snow Ridge City. That is Ronghua City. Bai Ling smiled, letting out a sigh of relief. She was exhausted from running around for days. besides Shan Wanquan and a few others. The rest of the Shun clan did not know that the northern lands were going to be in chaos. They were all walking leisurely, as if they were sightseeing. Bai Ling knew about this, and knew more about the dangers of the martial world than Shun Wanquan and the rest. Unfortunately, the Shun family's 100-meter-long line couldn't move too fast. It was too torturous. The anxiety in her heart was not something that others could understand. Fortunately, they arrived safely. Wow, such a big city. This is Ronghua City, so prosperous. Amidst the exclamations, the Shun clan's team was excited. They moved faster and soon arrived at the city gate. There was already someone waiting at the gate. Li Su had been keeping a low profile these days. He did not even participate in the attack on Sanya Mountain. That was because the Shun Lian gave him an extremely important mission. Bye, Li Su continued to spend money to purchase real estate in secret. He bought 8 medium-sized houses near the Fury Kuan gang's headquarters. Then, he found someone to open up the walls and connect them together. He carried out large-scale construction, repairs, and decorations, and finally formed a luxurious house. Although it could not be compared to the Wan Manor, it was still very spacious. There were pavilions, halls, corridors, and everything else. It was even more luxurious than an ordinary house. Li Su thought at first that the Shun Lian was building a private house for him, so he did his best. After the house was completed, he even bought a treasure at a high price from the Gu Garden. It was called Mirrors Suspended Above. This treasure was created by Duan Rongrong, who was in charge of the Gu Garden's Gu area. Her mirror Gu could show the true appearance of things, removing the false and returning the real. It could even see through the good and evil of people. And the treasure created by the mirror Gu, mirror suspended above, could release the light of the mirror to form a protective barrier, protecting the area from demons. Of course, the strength of the protective barrier was actually very limited. It could not completely block the demons from entering, but it could serve as a warning. Most importantly, through the mirror, the retainers could instantly lock onto the location of the demons, making it impossible for the demons to hide. They could attack in the shortest amount of time possible. Many rich and powerful families were equipped with similar warning treasures. Li Su built a large residence according to high standards, so naturally he couldn't lack these kinds of things. The total cost was also extremely astonishing. However, Shun Lian was not short of money. The Qi Lian demon corpse was sold for 10 million taels of silver. In addition to the wealth that Xiao Zhijiang of the Black Tiger Stockade had plundered in his lifetime, it was just enough to build such a large house. After everything was ready, Li Su was shocked that Shun Lian had suddenly become the boss of New Kuan. It was also at this time that he realized that the big house was for the Shuns to use. Miss Bai Ling, you're finally here. The gang leader has been looking forward to your arrival day and night, always worried about your safety on the way. Li Su smiled and went forward to greet them. When Bai Ling heard this, she couldn't help but ask in surprise, was the gang leader worried? Oh, Miss Bai Ling, you still don't know, right? Gang leader man has already abdicated, and Elder Shun has taken over as the new gang leader. Your young master is already the gang leader with great power. Li Su was stunned at first, but then he explained with a smile. Bai Ling was astonished and extremely shocked. Young master has become the gang leader. Li Su smiled. Please come with me. Let's settle down the gang leader's family first. You'll know everything when you see the gang leader. While Li Su was arranging for the Shuns to stay in the big house. In the conference hall, Shun Lian was discussing an important matter with the 2 deputy gang leaders and the 5 elders. Gang leader, our gang has always had 8 elders working together. Now that we're suddenly short of 3, we're seriously short of manpower. Selecting capable people is the most important thing right now. Bian Chanyu lowered his head slightly and said, Shun Lian and Bu Linkong had both been promoted, and Li Yunqing had been sent by Man Boyu to fight in the family land. There were 3 vacant elders' positions, and they urgently needed new blood. Shun Lian was wearing a dazzling black robe, sitting upright in the gang leader's seat. He looked around and smiled. Do you have any candidates? Immediately, Bian Chanyu stood up and presented a document that looked like a personnel file. He said seriously, These members are all experienced veterans with outstanding military achievements in the gang. They're also in the prime of their lives, and are in the prime of their lives. They should be qualified enough to be candidates. Of course, the final selection of the elders will depend on the gang leader's discerning eyes. Shunlian took the document and looked at it. He nodded and said slowly, "These people are not bad. They need experience. They need experience." Buling Kong raised his eyebrows and asked with cupped hands, "Does gang leader have other ideas?" Shunlian sighed and said in a low voice, "I just received news that the family Lin and family Huang have started a full-scale war. Other than the Lin and Huang families, many other families and sects are involved. I believe that it won't be long before the storm engulfs the entire northern land. The era of chaos in the northern land is coming." Everyone held their breaths when they heard this. Although they were already mentally prepared, they still held some hope in their hearts. What if the Lin and Huang families reconciled? Unfortunately, they still started a full-scale war, causing everyone to be unable to live in peace. Kong Yu sighed. "Alas, demons are causing trouble. We can't even kill them all. These families." His tone was filled with endless disappointment. Everyone nodded. Shunlian said calmly, "The cause was the rise of family Huang. The immortal goo that family Huang refined was too powerful, causing family Huang to expand rapidly. They urgently needed a large amount of resources. Because of this, family Huang kept annexing other families, causing great panic. They even threatened the #1 family in the northern land, family Lin. After family Lin got involved, family Huang restrained themselves. However, this still couldn't stop family Huang's ambition. Both sides formed factions and accumulated strength for several months. Finally, they started to attack each other. They won't rest until one side is dead. Buling Kong understood and said, "Chaotic times are coming. Gang leader wants to make some changes in the selection of talents, right?" Shunlian nodded. "When selecting talents, it has always been virtue first and talent second. To judge a person, we have to look at character first and then talent second. This is the rule of the gang. I want to make some adjustments so that I can put virtue first and virtue second." Kong Yu and the others held their breaths and slightly changed their expressions. It was worth mentioning that all gangs and organizations placed a lot of importance on seniority. Seniority was often the pass to get promoted. The longer a person joined an organization, the more it proved that this person had passed the organization's test in all aspects. For example, loyalty, talent, and so on. The organization understood everything about this person and trusted him. Only then would they give him important tasks. After all, trust was the most important thing. Trust also needed time to cultivate and prove. Kong Yu, Bien Shan Yu, and the others were put in important positions under this model. Of course, this model wasn't perfect. It would also breed scourges like Chao Yu-Qing, who wasn't satisfied with the status quo and tried to usurp the throne. On the other hand, if they didn't look at seniority, they would make an exception and promote. For example, Shunlian was promoted by Man Boyu in this way. The drawbacks could be seen from this. Talent comes first, virtue comes second. To put it bluntly, it only looked at a person's ability. As for whether this person was loyal or not, it was secondary. As long as this person was talented, even if he was a treacherous villain, he would still be given important tasks. This model of using people was tantamount to inviting a wolf into the house. There was a great hidden danger. To give a simple example, after a madman was promoted, he held great power in his hands. However, his ambition was still not satisfied, and he felt that he was more talented than the gang leader. Once this ambition appeared, he would very likely promote himself, kick the gang leader down, and take over the gang leader's position. The most terrible thing was that this didn't violate the gang's rules. According to the rule of talent first and virtue second, if the gang leader was kicked down, it was because of his own incompetence. Who else could he blame? If other people followed suit, they would definitely rack their brains to usurp the throne. If this vicious cycle continued, New Kuan would be finished sooner or later. Kong Yu frowned and said, "If you start this, you might invite a wolf into the house. You'll be trapped in a cocoon of your own making. Please think twice." Among all the people present, only Kong Yu is qualified to say this to the Shen Lian. It could be said that his honest words were unpleasant to the ear, and his sincerity was proof. Bu Linkong also said cautiously, once this rule is used, people's thoughts will change. The subordinates will be dissatisfied with their superiors. Whoever is stronger will be the boss. This will definitely cause a great disturbance. Please think twice. Please think twice. Bian Chanyu, Gong Sun Ji, and the others all held opposing opinions. Shen Lian smiled and said domineeringly, in troubled times, we use people based on talent, not virtue. Everyone, please rest assured. With me here, no one can overturn the sky. There's no one I can intimidate. The implication was that he wasn't a man, Boyu. If he dared to use this rule, it could only mean one thing. He, Shen Lian, would always be the strongest one. Sure enough, after hearing this, Kong Yu and the others were completely speechless. Their faces twitched, and they couldn't help but smile bitterly. Since gang leader is invincible, we'll do as you say. Bian Chanyu smiled gently. After the meeting, Shen Lian returned to the study on the 5th floor. Gang leader, someone called Shuang. She wants to see you. As soon as Shen Lian sat down, someone came to report. Let him in. Yes. After a while, Shuang she walked in quickly and bowed. Greetings, Shen Bangzhu. Congratulations on your promotion and power. Shen Lian said indifferently, have a seat. Shuang she walked to a chair and sat down. He went straight to the point. Shen Bangzhu has just taken power and is busy with many things. Sister Shen Bangzhu has expressed her understanding. However, the business between us is profitable. Shen Bangzhu, you must persist in doing it. It had already been some time since they worked together to scheme against Chong tribe. Shen Lian was first busy fighting a battle of wits and courage with Man Boyu, then handling all sorts of important matters as the gang leader. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to cultivate. However, Wan Yin was already impatient. Shen Lian smiled and said, I have already chosen my next target, the Tian family. Shuang she frowned and thought for a while. That Tian tribe in Longshang. Longshang was a place name. There was a city built on the highlands called Longshang City. Tian tribe was the owner of Longshang City and was also the only tribe in the city. A tribe owned a city. Shen Lian nodded. I just received news that Tian tribe was also involved in the battle between Lin and Huang tribes. They suffered heavy losses from the start and lost almost half of their members. Shuang she nodded and said doubtfully, we also received this news. However, Tian tribe's bloodline Gu is the frenzy blade Gu. This Gu feeds on crazed infatuation's blade intent. There is nothing we can do about it. Shen Lian asked in reply, did you not notice Tian tribe's opponent? Shuang she thought for a while and replied, Tian tribe is family Lin's ally and is enemies with family Huang. Meanwhile, the opponent in that battle was family Huang's ally, Hua tribe. Shen Lian continued, Hua tribe's bloodline Gu is the torment poison Gu and specializes in poison path. It is said that the reason why Tian tribe suffered heavy losses was because they were ambushed by Hua tribe. The location of the ambush was the Dove Poison Valley. Do you understand? Shuang she blinked and thought for a while. A layer of sweat appeared on his forehead as he smiled bitterly. Shen Bangzhu, please enlighten me. Chapter 135. Shuang she's eyes suddenly lit up. She suddenly realized and blurted out, the Tangwang Mountain happens to be in the Hua family's territory. The Tian family doesn't have the connections to buy the white wine lice soup. This is indeed a great opportunity. Thinking for a while, he hesitated, but how can we obtain white wine lily soup? Hua clan will definitely send people to guard Tangwang Mountain and not let anyone get close. You don't have to worry about this. Just leave it to me. Gu Garden needs to pay special attention to Tian clan's movements. Shen Lian instructed. Okay. Shuang she replied and left. Returning to Gu Garden, he found Wan Yin and told him the result of the negotiation. Shen Lian did not say how he would obtain white wine lily soup. Shuang she frowned. He thought hard the entire way, but could not think of a good way to get that antidote under Hua clan's nose. Wan Yin's eyes flashed as he said with a smile, the so-called wine liquid is actually a type of soup wine. It's brewed from the special soup of Tangwang Mountain mixed with 5 grains, white grass leaves, myriad spirit osmanthus, and other medicinal herbs. It can indeed cure the poison of the earth lung, but the real cure is actually that unique soup. In other words, as long as we get Tangwang Mountain soup, we can complete the transaction. She did not understand, whether it is white wine lily soup or the soup with Huaclan's people guarding it. Who can get it? Hee, you still haven't grasped the main point. The secret recipe for the fermented rice wine soup is top secret information of the Tangwang Mountain. The Tian family doesn't know about it, and neither does the Chong family. They only know that the fermented rice wine soup can cure the earth lung poison. They don't know that the true antidote is actually that soup, Wan Yin said with a chuckle. Shuangshi's eyes widened. Then how did you know, princess? And that Shan Lian also seemed to. Wan Yin smiled. Gu Garden and Tangwang Mountain have many business dealings. There are always people in Tangwang Mountain who are willing to sell anything for money. It is not difficult to get the secret recipe information. Furthermore, without that soup, it is useless to know the recipe. It is impossible to replicate white wine lily soup. Gu Garden obtained the recipe to replicate it, but left it aside after finding it useless. I only remembered this information because of my photographic memory. What about the Shun Lian? Well, he probably thought of it with his brain. The Gu Garden has the transaction records of Tangwang Mountain. He analyzed the goods purchased by Tangwang Mountain these years and found that just these things alone could not create the white wine liquor. Naturally, he concluded that Tangwang Mountain's soup must be very special. Wan Yin shrugged, his tone filled with admiration. Double Joy was speechless as he said, "This guy is indeed terrifying. This is called being meticulous. You should learn more. If you can see the whole picture from a single spot, I will support you to go independent and build a gang outside. At that time, we can kick away the Shan Lian and monopolize this good business." Wan Yin chuckled. "Princess, you are teasing me again." She supported his forehead with his hand. The more he interacted with Shan Lian, the more he felt that this person was unfathomable. Fermented rice wine liquid is not easy to obtain, but that kind of soup is not that difficult to obtain. While they were talking, Shuangshi's heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly opened the human Facebook. Her pupils immediately contracted, and she held her breath. "What's wrong? What made you so excited?" Wan Yin glanced at her and asked. Shuangshi handed the human Facebook over and said, "The Tian family sent an order. They are willing to buy fermented rice wine liquid at a high price." After sending Shuangshi away, Shan Lian slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and closed his eyes to rest. After a short while, Li Su and Bai Ling hurried back and reported, "Gang leader, your family has moved into the mansion." Shan Lian took a deep breath and looked at Bai Ling. "Did anything happen on the way? Have a safe journey." Bai Ling pursed her lips and smiled. She was naturally happy to see Shan Lian in such a high position and dignified manner. She had never imagined that she would have such a wonderful encounter after defecting from the family Lin. "Thank you for your hard work." Shan Lian stood up. "Let's go. I will go back and take a look." Li Su and Bai Ling accompanied him all the way to the mansion. The plaque Shin residence had already been hung up. The courtyard was wide enough for 3 carriages to walk side by side at the same time. The residence was bustling with activity. The servants were moving the luggage to various places. Shun Wanchuan's second mother and the others were strolling around to familiarize themselves with the new residence. The Shin residence's odd-job workers didn't come with us. Some of the retainers didn't want to leave either. We are slightly short of manpower, but Deacon Lee has already sent many people to help us. After a while, we will buy some slaves back. Everything will go smoothly, Bai Ling said as they walked. Li Su hurriedly said, "I have sent some people who know the background of the residence to guard the courtyard. I have also installed a mirror of eminence as a warning system. It is enough to prevent ordinary demons from sneaking in." Shun Lian nodded. "The newcomers must be strictly checked. I don't want any demons to sneak in." "Yes." Li Su and Bai Ling both responded. Shun Lian. As they were walking, they suddenly heard someone calling out to them. It was none other than Shun Lian. The little girl had just walked out from a corner when she saw Shun Lian. She immediately cheered and skipped over to him. Little girl. Shun Lian's heart warmed after not seeing her for a long time. He couldn't help but lift his hand and lightly flick her forehead. Shun Xiaoshu, who was about to give Shun Lian a bear hug, cried out in pain. He rubbed his forehead and bared his teeth. You flick my forehead again. Shun Lian, I want to break off our friendship. This time, I really want to break off our friendship. Shun Lian laughed and said, Little girl, we just met and you already want to break off our friendship. You left me alone to play. You don't have the code of brotherhood. Shun Xiaoshu turned his head away angrily. Shun Lian was speechless. What do you mean by playing? I am wandering the Jianghu. Isn't wandering the Jianghu all about playing? Don't quibble with me. You owe me a trip to the Jianghu. How are you going to compensate me? Shun Xiaoshu said confidently. Shun Lian squinted his eyes and said, How do you want me to compensate you? Shun Xiaoshu giggled and said, I have thought about it. I also want to become a Gu master. Quickly turn me into a Gu master. The little girl opened her arms and waved them. She had an expression of incomparable anticipation. Shun Lian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said in surprise, You can't be thinking that with a snap of my fingers, you will become a Gu master, right? Shun Xiaoshu was slightly stunned. He blinked and said, Isn't that the case? That's what my mother told me. Shun Lian patted his head and laughed. I will turn you into a Gu master later. We're a father and second mother. Soon, Shun Lian saw Shun Wanquan, second mother, and the rest. The family reunited. They asked about each other's well-being and reminisced about the old days. Second mother, who raised Shun Lian single-handedly, cried a lot. Lun Yang gave birth to a son and asked Shun Lian to give him a name. Shun Lian thought for a while and thought of a good word. The Shun family moved from Shueling City to Ronghua City. It has great significance. The joy of moving into a new house is worth commemorating. How about my little brother be called Shun Qian? Lun Yang was overjoyed. She liked it from the bottom of her heart and quickly said, Good name, good name. At night, a family banquet was held. The family ate and drank together. During the banquet, third mother and fourth mother tactfully asked Shun Lian to help Shun Fong and Shun Zhan. These two brothers were also deeply aware of the gap between them and Shun Lian. Their eyes were burning with envy, and they vowed to become a Gu master. Shun Lian, however, knew that the path of Gu was harder than ascending to the heavens. Shun Fong and Shun Zhan were like mud that could not support a wall. It was just a matter of 3 minutes. They could not endure that hardship and could not persevere. But he had the wedding dress Gu. It was a solution. This matter could be considered later. After the family banquet, Shun Lian stayed the night and talked with his father. Steward Fan Li and Chui Lan were also there. After Chui Lan became Fan Li's disciple, she learned a lot of things. Now, family no longer interfered in many things, and Chui Lan handled them. She could already shoulder the burden alone and finally had the demeanor of a steward. But in front of Shun Lian, she still had the demeanor of a delicate maid. Time can change a lot of things, but some things were deeply ingrained. Father, the Shun family's business in Shueling City has been sold. We will start from scratch in Ronghua City. What are your plans? Shun Lian asked. I don't know the current situation of Ronghua City. I don't know where to start. Shun Wanquan, who was slightly drunk, smiled bitterly. Shun Lian suggested, I suggest you start by buying food. Soon, the price of food will skyrocket. Shun Wanquan nodded and looked at Fan Li. He nodded and said, You and Chui Lan discuss it. Choose a shop and buy food as soon as possible. Yes, Fan Li and Chui Lan replied in unison. Then, Shun Lian called Uncle Sunday. The two of them were like teachers and friends, and they drank a few more cups. Shun Lian asked, How's the training of the orphan warriors going? Old Uncle Sun's expression turned solemn as he said seriously, The progress has been very smooth, especially for you Xiaoqi, Wu Yingying, Sun Debao, Wang Beol, and Lin Xiao. These 5 children were all named by you to be heavily groomed. They are indeed all geniuses. Shun Lian nodded silently. He planned to use these orphan warriors to try to implant the wedding gown Gu in the future. The bloody history of the wedding gown sex destruction is still vivid in my mind. I can't make such a mistake. Some things must be done in a low-key manner. Shun Lian thought. Jean Mansion. The moonlight was beautiful and poured on the windowsill. Jean Renew had already fallen asleep. Ever since she returned home, she had become much more obedient and obedient. She was no longer as willful and reckless as before. She lay on the bed, covered by a warm and soft blanket, and slept peacefully. In this warm home, beside her family members who loved her dearly, the crazy and hallucinatory experience in the Snake Cave on Green Cliff Mountain was slowly fading from her memory. At that moment, she suddenly shivered. She did not wake up, but her body started to convulse violently. Jean Renew's eyelids were also twitching violently, as if she was having a crazy dream. The next morning, Jean Renew opened her eyes. Out of habit, she would stretch herself on the bed and roll around. But the moment she opened her eyes, the scene that greeted her eyes stunned her. The blanket was covered in red stuff, and the smell of blood was extremely strong. There were also many chicken feathers. Her eyes widened as she sat up. She suddenly realized that her hands were also covered in blood. Her fingernails, which had always been clean, were now stained with blood. She gasped for air, and the breath she exhaled was strange and extremely unpleasant. She almost vomited. From her mouth, she spat out a chicken feather. In the room, there were also chicken feathers everywhere. What happened? Jean Renew shuddered and was extremely terrified. She hurriedly got up and looked at the mess on her bed. Her limbs were cold. Chapter 136. In the training room. Sigh, I finally have time to train. In the quiet secret room, Shun Lian sat cross-legged with a brocade box and a porcelain bottle in front of him. He let out a long sigh. As a new official, there are many things that I have to deal with personally. However, after a while, when the gang is ready and on the right track, I will be able to leave everything to others. Shun Lian laughed bitterly and quickly calmed down. His eyes focused on the interface in front of him. Bewitchment, 13,580 points. Ever since Shun Lian made use of Shi, Song Tian, and Jean Renew, his ultimate goal was to take over the position of the gang leader and control his own fate. He would no longer be controlled by Man Boyu. For this, he had to bewitch many people. For example, he had to gain the support of Kong Yu, Ling Kong, and the others. He also had to force Man Boyu to abdicate his throne. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Shun Lian naturally did not want to leave a bad name of regicide. Among them, Kong Yu was extremely loyal. Bewitchment of him to betray Man Boyu was extremely difficult. Obtained 2,000 bewitchment points. Liang Qizhu and Ling Kong were both ambitious people, and the two of them had deep ties with each other. They struggled under Man Boyu's control and still harbored delusions. It was not easy to obtain their support, and both of them obtained 1,000 bewilderment points. Gong Sun Ji, Yuan En, and Rong Chun. In order to protect themselves, they were easier to bewitch. Obtained 800 bewitchment points each. Bian Chanyu was more easygoing, but she was also indecisive. However, under the situation where the situation was set, obtaining her support was very easy. Obtained 500 bewitchment points. The hardest to bewitch was naturally Man Boyu. This person was the most stubborn. Obtained 2,500 bewitchment points. Furthermore, in the process of creating momentum, many gang members were bewitched. They became his fans and supported him as the gang leader. Obtained 1,000 bewitchment points. In addition to the 3,000 bewitchment points obtained from the Tsang Yang Mountain Demon disaster, the entire operation had accumulated 13,580 bewitchment points. What a great harvest! Shun Lian was already quite knowledgeable about the way to obtain bewitchment points. He was even familiar with it. In conclusion, just by talking, taking action, or getting involved in some kind of disaster, one could obtain bewitchment points. However, it was relatively simple, and the bewitchment points obtained would not be much. It was far from being as smooth and satisfying as a group with a strong personal goal. It felt like getting rich overnight. The more important people involved, the greater the impact and the greater the harvest. Most importantly, the benefits that Shun Lian gained from this were not only his bewitchment points, but also his life's trajectory. He was moving towards a better direction, towards the peak. The northern lands are in chaos. There are dangers everywhere. I need to quickly raise my strength. Shun Lian's gaze moved down. The information of the 5 main ascension Gu appeared in his eyes. Grandmaster Gu and Snake Jade Gu were silver rank 5. Great Wind Rises Gu was silver rank 3. Evasion Gu was bronze rank 6. And Wedding Dress Gu was white rank. Among the 3 silver rank Gu, in terms of potential, the ones that needed the least bewitchment points to evolve were the Great Wind Rises Gu, Snake Jade Gu, and Grandmaster Gu. Great Wind Rises Gu was born because of me. It has the same aura as me, like a fusion of blood. Its evolution path is smooth. Min Mountain Sect's elder by Shanxi admired Shunlian because of this, and was confident in nurturing him into a gold rank Gu master. Currently, I should focus on the Great Wind Rises Gu, followed by the Grandmaster Gu and Snake Jade Gu, to raise my battle strength to the greatest extent. In the past, Shunlian had always focused on advancing to Grandmaster Gu, but after obtaining the Great Wind Rises Gu, the situation changed greatly, and he naturally made more optimal adjustments. After making up his mind, Shunlian no longer hesitated, and his mind moved. Evolve the Great Wind Rises Gu. Following the rapid flickering of the interface, the Great Wind Rises Gu, which was like a mini tiger, let out a blue aurora, and the aurora wrapped around its body. This continued for 7 days, when the aurora dispersed, and the tiger's true appearance was revealed. 8 dazzling silver stripes coiled around its body. It raised its head and roared, shaking the heavens, and causing winds and clouds to surge, mighty and domineering. Great Wind Rises Gu, Silver Rank 8, Special Effect, Pervasive, Apprehension of the Wind, Cutting Wind like Blades, Autumn Wind Leaves, Wind King Enchantment. This was not the end. In these 7 days, Shunlian had also evolved the Grandmaster Gu and Snake Jade Gu by 1 level, reaching Silver Rank 6. With such a crazy evolution, the consumption of primeval water was naturally astonishing, as he drank bottle after bottle of primeval water. Finally, Shunlian smoothly advanced to Silver Rank 8 Gu Master. Last time, I swallowed 2 Manflower Gu, and my talent increased to Silver Rank 7. Relying on a set of body fusion type Gu, my talent was raised again, and this time's advancement was very smooth. Shunlian looked at the interface. The body fusion type Gu's fusion progress had reached 26%, almost at the same pace. At this point, it could be seen that the Dragon Heart Gu dominated the whole situation, while the Tiger Guts Gu, Whale Breath Gu, Withering Glory Gu, and Strong Root Gu's fusion progress could not surpass the Dragon Heart Gu, or rather, they were suppressed by the Dragon Heart Gu, and could only follow the Dragon Heart Gu's fusion pace. In the blink of an eye, the consumption of bewilderment points was frightening. Less than 3,000 points left. Next, Shunlian flipped open a thick ancient book and flipped to a certain page, which recorded information about Dodge Gu. Dodge Gu's evolution path is actually very difficult. It is restricted by its own potential and almost cannot reach silver rank. Dodge Gu is more suitable for the path of variant fusion evolution. Together with Hurried Passerby Gu and Endless Gossamer, the 3 can be fused into Teleportation Gu. Reading till here, Shunlian's gaze brightened. Hurried Passerby Gu, also known as Passerby Gu, is a movement-type Gu and is as famous as Stealth Gu. This Gu can allow a person to move quickly and silently, without attracting attention. It can be said to be extremely ordinary, without any sense of existence, like a female protagonist. I left quietly, just like how I came quietly. We are all passers-by, brushing past each other, turning around in a hurry. Familiar street corner, unfamiliar gaze, you are still you, looking for you thousands of times in the crowd, suddenly turning around. In that dimly lit area, all you see are passers-by. Shunlian opened the brocade box in front of him, and saw a Gu that resembled a straw shoe. He could not help but smile. Hurry Passerby Gu, I have already obtained it from the accounts room. The benefits of being a gang leader were displayed here. Although he could not casually withdraw restricted resources, Using some goo for free was still within his authority. Shun Lian picked up the porcelain bottle in front of him, sighing, "The most precious thing is actually the endless gossamer. This product is too rare." Endless gossamer is a concubine's heart, causing butterflies to linger around and flowers to intertwine. Two infatuated lovers, separated by a distance, deeply missed each other. Over time, this longing turned into strands of gossamer threads, tying them together despite being separated by tens of thousands of feet. This was the 10,000 feet gossamer thread. Only those lovers who were so infatuated with each other could condense endless gossamer. This was formed from deep longing. It was easy to imagine how precious it was. Once, in order to obtain the endless gossamer, someone purposely looked for those lovers who loved each other to death and forcefully separated them. After 3 to 5 years, if their love did not fade due to separation, but instead grew stronger, the gossamer would be born, and the gossamer would make a fortune. With a pop sound, Shun Lian opened the porcelain bottle, and his gaze focused, only to see that the bottle was filled with silver threads as thin as spider silk, coiling around each other, as if the feelings between lovers could not be severed. Endless gossamer is very rare. I had no choice but to use the Goo Garden's connections to get this bottle. Shun Lian's lips twitched. Although he and Wan Yin were allies, they were not partners. Asking her for help was equivalent to owing her a favor, and he would have to repay it in the future. Let's begin the joint training. With a thought, the lightning-shaped dodge goo suddenly appeared and instantly entered the porcelain bottle. The gossamer wrapped around his body, and then entered the embrace of the hurried passerby goo. Light surged intensely, and finally turned into a cocoon. A few days later, the cocoon broke open, and a caterpillar-like goo appeared in front of him. The caterpillar-like goo had lightning tattoos on its body, and it had many silver tentacles that wriggled around. Teleport goo, bronze rank 9, special effect, Qian Kuan Great Shift, Qian Kuan Great Shift special effect. Shun Lian's eyes brightened, and could not wait to keep the teleport goo into his body and enter the original dodge goo's aperture. A moment later, the teleport goo turned the dodge attribute primeval essence in the aperture into teleport attribute primeval essence. Let me test its power. Shun Lian's mind communicated with the teleport goo and tried to activate the primeval essence in his aperture as he looked 10 meters ahead. Almost at the same time as the thought of, "I want to teleport there," appeared in his mind, the teleport goo immediately shook. The caterpillar-like goo stretched its body, and the silver tentacles on its body suddenly expanded, becoming 10 meters long, and actually flew out of its body, flying precisely to the place he wanted to go. In the blink of an eye, the moment the silver tentacles reached 10 meters away, Shun Lian suddenly disappeared from his spot and appeared at the destination. Shun Lian was slightly stunned and could not help but be overjoyed. "Let's try again." Shun Lian's mind moved, and his whole body once again teleported and suddenly appeared 20 meters away. I understand. The teleport goo's main characteristic is the gossamer. Lovers miss each other and wish to be by each other's side, but are unable to do so. Now that I have the dodge goo and hurried passerby goo, the dream of reunion can finally be realized. Thus, the body can instantly arrive at the place the thought is transmitted to. This was not the end. At a moment, an object's position in space changes. This is teleportation. That is to say, in the whole process of teleportation, there is no flow of time. From this perspective, the teleport goo was even more mystical than the teleport goo. Not only could it cross space, it could also freeze time. This is love breaking through time and space. Shun Lian was unable to restrain his joy. With the teleport goo, his close combat strength had once again risen sharply. The teleport ability combined with the heaven-eroding sword, red flame saber, and especially the dragon claw, to sneak attack others is absolutely awesome. However, the further the teleport distance, the more primeval essence it consumes. The bronze rank 8 teleport goo can only teleport 8 meters away, and it can only teleport once. Chapter 137. This was the benefit of being in a high position. Many high-quality resources could be easily obtained to satisfy the needs of the goo and the body. It was worth mentioning that a goo could evolve in many ways. For example, dodge goo could be refined into teleportation goo, or could also be refined into flowing light goo. It was also a high-speed movement goo, as fast as light and extremely powerful. Teleportation goo pursued extreme movement, involving space and time, while flowing light goo pursued the speed of light. It could form a light speed charge. The goo master could even have the super speed of the Flash. From this, it could be seen that the two goos' future development paths were completely different, which was better or worse. It was all up to the goo master to decide. Shunlian's goo master path was to develop in all aspects. He did not pursue the best, but the most suitable for himself. After all, the most suitable goo was the best goo. Teleportation goo was the most suitable for Shunlian. Finally, teleportation goo successfully evolved to Silver Rank 1. Its teleportation distance also doubled. It could move freely within 60 feet and could teleport up to 5 times. Huff! Shunlian happily came out of closed-door cultivation. Today was also an extremely important day. He came to the discussion hall. The hall was rather lively. Other than the higher-ups, there were 12 people who came to participate in the meeting. These 12 people were the candidates for the 3 elder seats. Each of them had a fierce aura and extraordinary strength. They were Bu Ling Kong, Bien Chanyu, and others. According to the evaluation of their battle achievements in the last 5 years, they were selected according to their strength. If they followed the previous election method based on seniority, 8 of these 12 people would not even have the qualifications to be selected. Greetings to the gang leader. Long live the gang leader. When Shunlian sat down, everyone bowed respectfully. No need for formalities. Please sit. After everyone sat down, Shunlian's gaze flashed, and he directly said, "Everyone, I will not speak any more nonsense. The 12 of you will fight for the 3 elder seats with your own abilities. The winner is king." The 12 people heard this, and their gazes all burned with passion. One of them cupped his fists and asked, "Dare I ask, gang leader, how do we compete based on our own abilities? Do we exchange pointers and decide the victor?" The others seemed to be thinking the same thing. They looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with hostility. Obtaining an elder's seat meant that they would be able to obtain restricted level resources. Just this benefit alone was enough to cause brothers to turn against each other and kill each other. Seeing this scene, Kong Yu, Bu Ling Kong, and the others all sighed inwardly, revealing an expression of as expected. Most of these people were arrogant and unruly people, and they had to be strictly controlled to be able to control them. Now that the rules had changed, they immediately revealed their true colors. All of them were like bandits, and when they fought, blood would definitely splatter everywhere, and they would show no mercy. Shunlian laughed aloud and said in a loud and clear voice, "We are all comrades. Want to be a joke if we fight each other? My heart will ache if anyone dies or is injured. There are thousands of ways to compete, and dueling is the stupidest way. You can't do it." Bu Ling Kong raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile, "What brilliant plan does gang leader have?" Shunlian's expression turned serious, and he said in a deep voice, "New Kuan is the largest faction in the northern Jianghu. Since I took over the position of gang leader, my friends in the Jianghu have given me face and have come from everywhere to congratulate me. However, there are also some friends who look down on me. Not to mention sending gifts. They didn't even send congratulatory letters. They simply don't take me seriously. The 12 of you, listen carefully. The content of the competition is very simple. The 12 of you go and find those friends in the Jianghu who didn't congratulate me and properly persuade them to make up for it. The deadline is 1 month, and the first 3 people who bring me the most gifts will be the 3 new elders." When everyone heard this, they were all stunned. What do you mean by making up for it? In other words, isn't it just asking for it by force? What's the difference between this and robbery? It turned out that the competition was like this. Whoever snatched the most gifts would be the winner. It was too simple and crude. Kong Yu, Bu Ling Kong, and the others were all stunned. New Kuan had never done something so out of line. Once this move was made, how much hatred would it attract? The 12 substitutes were also stunned. They had never imagined that the competition would be about this. They couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. Their faces were full of doubt that the gang master wanted them to do this. Shun Lian said coldly, "For example, Tang Wang Mountain didn't send me any congratulatory gifts. That's simply outrageous. Which one of you will go to Tang Wang Mountain and remind them who's the real boss of the Northern Jianghu? Oh, I heard that Tang Wang Mountain has a special kind of soup. Ask them to send me a few more large vats. Just say that I want to use that soup to bathe. Also, Yanu Peak, I heard that there are many beauties there, but they didn't send me any gifts. Which one of you will go there and shout a few times? Let those women understand that this gang leader is the most protective man in the Northern Jianghu." Gang leader. When Kong Yu, Bulin Kong, and the others heard this, they were all stunned and went crazy. The 12 substitutes gradually became ferocious. Their blood was boiling. The gang leader spoke so bluntly that they would be idiots if they didn't understand. Although gang leader is the #1 gang leader in the Northern Jianghu, your prestige isn't great. If you don't do something, how can you make a name for yourself? Gang leader wants to establish his prestige. We are the gang leader's swords. We have to fight for gang leader's prestige. The 12 substitutes' eyes were red. This competition was just on the surface. The gang leader's intention was the most important. They would only be put in an important position if they followed the gang leader's intentions. Understood. The 12 substitutes responded loudly. Good. Then we'll meet again in a month. Shun Lian smiled and waved his hand. The 12 substitutes immediately took their leave. At this time, Kong Yu finally couldn't stand it anymore. He was about to say something when Shun Lian waved his hand and interrupted him. "I know what you want to say. Don't worry." Shun Lian stood up and said domineeringly, "Since chaos is inevitable, why don't we open the curtain to it?" Kong Yu, Bulin Kong, and the others all held their breaths. They thought about it and couldn't refute. This will bring a lot of resources to New Kuan so that we won't be too passive in this chaotic world. Gong Sunji agreed. One of the 12 substitutes was promoted by him. He was also strong. According to this competition method, there was a high chance that he would stand out. He naturally agreed. Actually, we don't have to worry too much. The aristocratic families and sects have never interfered in the disputes between the gangs and the Jianghu. There won't be any trouble, Liang Qizhu said lightly. He also changed his opinion and agreed. Bolinkong's eyes flashed. He said, "There's no problem with this competition method, but..." He wanted to say something, but stopped. "There's a loophole, isn't there?" Shun Lian smiled. Bolinkong couldn't help laughing. He said, "So, gang leader has already thought about it. I've shown off." Bian Chanyu was surprised. He asked what loophole. Shun Lian smiled, but didn't say anything. Bu Linkong replied, "The final result will be based on the number of congratulatory gifts. If a few of them join forces, they'll definitely get an elder seat." "I see." Bian Chanyu thought for a while. "But how many of them will get an elder seat?" Bolinkong sighed. "This is where the loophole lies. Some people may know that they'll definitely lose, so they'll get close to someone stronger than them and support that person to become an elder in exchange for some benefits." "I see." Bian Chanyu understood. He turned to look at Shun Lian and asked, "Gang leader, aren't you worried that this will happen?" Shun Lian smiled. "Forming a gang and becoming sworn brothers is also a talent. I don't mind." Everyone was speechless. They realized that this person's tolerance was not ordinary. He was really an extraordinary person. Broken Blade Hall. The hall was located in Ronghua City. The hall master's name was Li Fengxian. He was also a gu master. His main gu was the Blade Light gu, which was as famous as the Sword Shadow gu. Li Fengxian was Man Boyu's good friend. The two had known each other for many years. He heard from somewhere that Man Boyu was actually forced to abdicate, so he was naturally very unhappy with Shun Lian. He was one of the people who didn't send any congratulatory gifts. A loud bang was heard. Broken Blade Hall's door was suddenly sent flying. 4 guards flew out and fell to the ground with blood spurting out of their mouths. They twitched a few times before dying. Li Fengxian, who had white hair on his temples, heard the commotion and quickly ran out. He saw a tall and thin man standing at the door. He had a malicious gaze and was emitting killing intent. He was wearing Nu Kuan's robe. "You are Tu Sanqian." Li Fengxian recognized the person at a glance. This person was a vicious person. His surname was Tu, and his name was unknown. Because he had killed too many people and his killing intent was too strong, everyone gave him the nickname Tu Sanqian. He liked it very much and called himself Tu Sanqian. Tu Sanqian sneered, "Old man, I have long wanted to settle the score with you. Do you still remember 7 years ago? Your disciple and I had a quarrel and was slapped by me. You ran to Man Boyu and complained. Man Boyu indiscriminately punished me by slapping me 100 times, causing me to lose 2 of my teeth. In the future, he did not put me in an important position, causing me to be depressed and unable to achieve my goals. My suffering is all because of you, old man." Li Fengxian furiously said, "That slap of yours made half of my disciples ear deaf. I am already merciful in exchange for 2 of your teeth. What? Are you here for revenge? Broken Blade Hall has no grudge with Nu Kuan. You stirred up trouble on your own and violated the rules of the pugilistic world. How can Nu Kuan tolerate you?" Tu Sanqian sneered, "Old man, after our Shun Bangju ascended to the position, you did not send any congratulatory gifts. This made Shin Bangju very unhappy, and he ordered me to teach Broken Blade Hall a lesson. Come out and fight. You're going too far. Coming here without sending any congratulatory gifts. What is the meaning of this?" Li Fengxian flew into a rage and slashed with his dragon head saber. As the saber slashed down, the saber light split apart and turned into layers of saber shadows that spread out in a fan shape and covered the sky. Saber light goo is, after all, a close combat type. Tu Sanqian sneered and opened his sleeves as a bone snake crawled out. That bone snake grew with the wind and instantly grew to over 30 meters long. It coiled into a ball and protected Tu Sanqian in the center. With a series of crackling sounds, the saber light landed on the bone snake's body and dispersed without any effect. Li Fengxian was shocked. "Ha! Old man, this is a demon weapon made from the snake bones of the river demon, Qilian. It is perfectly compatible with my goo whipping. I exchanged it with the mission points I accumulated for 10 years. How can your saber light hurt it in the slightest?" Tu Sanqian laughed loudly and shook his hand. The bone snake suddenly moved and expanded, knocking into Li Fengxian and forcing him to retreat. "Impudent brat." Li Fengxian stabilized his body and shouted angrily. He held his dragon head saber horizontally in front of his chest and crazily activated his primeval essence. Gradually, the dragon head saber emitted a cold light and its aura rose sharply, turning into a 10-meter-long saber light. "Die!" Li Fengxian raised the huge saber light and slashed at the bone snake. At this moment, Li Fengxian's arms suddenly sank, only to see a bloody rope from the bottom of his feet to his arms nimbly like a snake. In the blink of an eye, he was tied up, unable to move. The rope suddenly tightened, and he fell straight to the ground with his feet together. "Old man, don't you know that the whip punishment goo and 5-flower great binding goo are a perfect match? Since I have refined the whip punishment goo, I will naturally refine the 5-flower great binding goo as a supplement." Tu Sanqian sneered. He stepped forward and kicked the saber away. Then he stomped on Li Fengxian's face. "Master!" The Broken Saber Hall's disciples were shocked and angry. They unsheathed their sabers and surrounded him. The bone snake stabbed and swept the dust up. Immediately, there were screams. The powerful bone snake was like the reincarnation of the Qilian. It was extremely ferocious. It rampaged and twisted its legs. In 3 to 5 moves, dozens of people were sent rolling on the ground. They were covered with injuries, and there were many casualties. "Stop!" Seeing this scene, Li Fengxian's eyes twitched, and he hurriedly shouted, "Tu Sanqian, what do you want from me? Old man, slap me 100 times before you talk to me about the conditions." Li Fengxian waved the bone snake and rushed into the inner hall. He wantonly destroyed and soon made a big hole in the roof. Chapter 138. Old Man. Ha! You won't cry until you see the coffin. With a wave of Tu Sanqian's hand, the rope binding Li Fengxian began to move again. It actually pulled Li Fengxian up and forced him to kneel on the ground. The end of the rope was like a snake's head as it moved in front of Li Fengxian. It swung around fiercely and viciously, whipping Li Fengxian's face. Slap! Slap! After more than 100 slaps, Li Fengxian's face was bruised and swollen. He was in a miserable state, and his mouth was full of blood. Li Fengxian, whose face was completely disfigured, was in a bad mood. The Broken Saber Hall did not have the support of any aristocratic family. It was just a small gang compared to the Wrath Kuan gang. In the past, with Man Boyu's protection, he could bully Tu Sanqian like a dog. But now life was full of ups and downs. Do not bully the poor. The rich villains were the most ruthless. Tu Sanqian grinned and said coldly, "Next, let's talk about the gifts." After a while, Tu Sanqian walked out of the Broken Saber Hall and let out a long sigh of relief. He was in a good mood. The resentment that had been pent up for 7 years was finally released. Well, the faction leader specifically mentioned Tangwang Mountain. I'll follow this route and kill my way there. Those who didn't send any gifts will have to send more. I'll make a big commotion, the bigger the better. After Tu Sanqian made up his mind, he smiled ferociously and galloped out of the city on his horse. At the same time, the other candidates were also moving quickly. Some of them were trying to form alliances. Brother Gua, you're the strongest among the three of us. Brother Wang and I have decided to give up on the competition for the position of elder. We'll give you our full support, said a candidate surnamed Zhu. Brother Zhu, Brother Wang, thank you for your support. When I get the position of elder, I'll promote you to be my right-hand man and share the restricted resources. From now on, the three of us will be united and work together. Only then can we compete with the veteran elders. Gua Taixing made a solemn vow. The candidate, surnamed Wang, nodded with madness in his eyes. If the three of us work together, we won't lose to anyone in terms of strength. Let's get the position of elder first, then we'll plan for bigger things in the future. Even the position of faction leader is not out of reach. The candidate, surnamed Zhu, laughed. Well said. So what should we do next? Gua Taixing's eyes flashed, and he grinned. Although Secmaster said that the winner will be decided by the number of gifts, there is a gray area in this, and that is how to determine the value of the gifts. If things went as expected, the gang leader would be the one to make the decision. In other words, the final result of the battle depended on how big the commotion was. Let's look for some big sex and cause trouble. On the other side, as expected, Gua Taixing has joined forces with Zhu and Wang. Humph, they have 3 people while we have 4. Among the 12 candidates, there were only 2 women. At this moment, they were standing together with the other 2 male candidates, whispering to each other. This time, the 12 of us will fight for the 3 elder seats. If we compete in individual strength, we will only suffer a crushing defeat. Only by joining forces will we be able to guarantee victory. With the 4 of us joining forces, we will be able to secure a seat. Let the other 8 fight for the remaining 2 seats. On this day, people from all walks of life rushed in all directions. All the big and small gangs along the way suffered a calamity. In a few days, the news spread like wildfire. Many of the gangs in the northern land felt that they were in danger. They were all under great pressure and moved as soon as they heard the news. Some took the initiative to hand in gifts obediently, some resisted stubbornly, and some struggled to resist. However, the matter became more and more serious. Many of them were slapped in the face. Some even went to the Man Boyu to plead for mercy, but they were rejected. White Eyebrows Hall, Sanhu Village, Furong Lane, Tongbei Dock, one by one, the gangs in the Jianghu fell. In front of the powerful New Kuan, they were no match at all. If they resisted slightly, they would be pressed to the ground and ruthlessly rubbed against them. Since the situation was stronger than them, they could only swallow their anger and compromise. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed. The Jianghu in the northern land was in turmoil. All the gangs were completely enraged. Unable to bear it, They joined forces and invited the three famous elders in the Jianghu to come to New Kuan to reason. The three elders were the tower master of Tingyu Tower, the owner of Wushang Inn, and the pavilion master of Cold Moon Pavilion. In the study, Kong Yu handed over the invitation and said with a solemn face, "Gang leader, the three elders sent you an invitation to meet at Tianshui Pavilion." Shun Lian glanced at the invitation and threw it on the table. He laughed and said, "The so-called elders in the Jianghu are the peacemakers, aren't they?" Kong Yu nodded and sighed. "The disputes in the Jianghu are endless. Someone is needed to mediate the conflicts, resolve the grudges, and quell the wars. These three elders do not belong to any gang, but they are all powerful and have a wide network of connections. They are all people who can control the situation. Yes, that is to say, these three guys have a lot of influence." Shun Lian understood. He naturally knew that sending out 12 candidates to cause a ruckus would cause public anger. However, he did not expect that the ones who came out would be three elders in the Jianghu. But Kong was also there. He smiled bitterly and said, "I was betting with Elder Kong that this move would cause the elders in the Jianghu to pressure us. I didn't expect that three of them would come at once." Shun Lian frowned and said, "How many elders are there in the Jianghu?" Kong Yu stared and said helplessly, "The most powerful in the north are these three. They are all here." "How powerful are the three of them?" "Very powerful. They are all people who are equally famous as Man Boyu, and they are highly respected. Offending them is equivalent to offending the entire pugilistic world in the north." Kong Yu smiled bitterly, and he seemed to admit his inferiority. "Okay, then I will go and meet them." Shun Lian was calm. If the three elders were as famous as Man Boyu, then their strength should be about the same. "I have reached this stage. My strength is enough to dominate the Jianghu. Only the disciples of the aristocratic families and sects can match me." Shun Lian was not afraid of the three elders at all. He smiled coldly. The next day, at Tianshui Pavilion. Tianshui Pavilion was located by the Wei River. Standing in the pavilion, one could see the mighty Wei River through the window. Perhaps it was because of the angle, but looking out from the window of the pavilion, the water was vast and the sky was long. The Wei River was like a vast expanse of water with no end in sight. It made one feel insignificant in comparison to the vastness of the world. At this moment, the three elders of the Jianghu had already arrived. They were chatting and enjoying the scenery through the window. They were all influential people. Haha, speaking of which, the Jianghu in the north hasn't been so lively for a long time. The owner of Wushang Inn, Mo Wushang, was a bearded old man in his 60s. He had a hunchback and was leaning on a walking stick. He stroked his beard and laughed. "That's right. This Shun Lian is young and promising. He has great talent and strategy. He is a formidable person." The pavilion lord of Tingyu Pavilion, Tingyu, was young and vigorous. His brows were sharp and beautiful, and he had an imposing appearance. He looked like a middle-aged uncle who was not even 40 years old. Sadly, young people are always impatient. He has just been promoted to the position of sect leader, but instead of being kind to others and making friends, he went around causing trouble and angering everyone. He is simply too arrogant, courting his own destruction. The pavilion lord of Cold Moon Pavilion, Shaoling Yue, was a middle-aged woman who still retained her charm. Her countenance was cold and threatening as she snorted. Upon hearing this, Tingyu couldn't help but frown and sigh. "It's precisely because of this brat's arrogance that I'm worried today's negotiation won't go smoothly. If we aren't careful, we might form a grudge with New Kuan. That wouldn't be good." "What are you afraid of?" "With us three elders pressuring him together, which sect in the north would be able to withstand the combined might of the three of us? Taking a step back, he is just a rising star. Being able to force us three elders to come out and negotiate, he should feel proud and honored." Shaoling Yue lifted her chin and spoke arrogantly. Tingyu thought about it and nodded. "Even when Man Boyu was here, we still couldn't force the three of us to act together. That Shun Lian better know his place. If not, don't blame us for not giving him face." "Exactly." The hunchbacked old man, and Mo Wushang nodded his head repeatedly. Just as they were conversing, the neighing of horses could be heard from afar. The three elders looked over and saw 3 horses galloping over. When they heard the neighing of the horses, they were still far away, but in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived at the celestial water pavilion. The scenery here isn't bad. Shunlian smiled as he surveyed the surroundings. Is this the first time sect leader has come to the celestial water pavilion? Bulinkong exclaimed. The celestial water pavilion was also a famous scenic spot in Ronghua City. In the past, a friend invited me to take a boat tour around the Wei River. If the plan hadn't changed, I would have passed by the celestial water pavilion. What a pity. Shunlian seemed to have thought of something as a look of regret appeared on his face. Kong Yu's expression changed slightly as he smiled. If the plan hadn't changed, sect leader wouldn't have joined New Kun. That's true. Shunlian laughed as he dismounted and walked into the pavilion. The 3 elders came out and cupped their fists. Mo Wushang, Yi Tingyu, and Xiao Lungyue greet Shinbangzhu. Shunlian also cupped his fists and smiled. 3 elders, Shun greets you. Shinbangzhu, please have a seat. 3 elders, please have a seat. At a table, both sides sat facing each other. There were 3 people on each side. Mo Wushang laughed. Shinbangzhu is incomparably handsome and has an extraordinary bearing. You are indeed a dragon among men. Seeing is believing. Shunlian smiled. Mo Wushang continued. I'm sure Shinbangzhu already knows the purpose of our meeting. I only hope that Shinbangzhu can be magnanimous and let things go peacefully. Shunlian looked at the 3 elders and asked, 3 elders, New Kun is the #1 sect in the north. As the sect leader, it is my duty to protect the sect's dignity. I have just ascended to the position, and there are actually people who didn't give me a congratulatory gift. Isn't this a slap to my face? Mo Wushang was a little speechless, but he still maintained a pleasant expression and said, giving a congratulatory gift is the goodwill of friends in the martial world. There is no reason to force it. They all have their own reasons for not giving a congratulatory gift. It doesn't mean that they didn't give Shinbangzhu any face. In the future, we will interact more. With more friends, there will naturally be more people giving gifts. Shunlian laughed coldly. Speaking of gifts, I was just about to ask the 3 elders if you have given me a congratulatory gift. The 3 elders were stunned. They couldn't help but look at each other and frowned. The 3 of them didn't. Kong Yu and Bulinkong looked at each other. Their faces were tense, and the corners of their eyes were twitching. Chapter 139. Shunlian stared straight at the 3 elders. Why? Is this question very hard to answer? Did you give it or not? The 3 elders' faces tightened as their hearts burned with anger. Mo Wushang laughed dryly and said in a low voice, I've been busy recently and neglected this matter. However, I'll still say the same thing. Not giving a gift has no intention of offending Shinbangzhu. If Shinbangzhu likes gifts so much, don't worry. This old man will give you a gift when we return. What do you think? So you didn't give me one. Shunlian's mouth twitched as he snorted. You see, you just said that we should interact more. I'm in charge of New Kun, and you didn't give me a gift for such a big matter. When you plan to give me one? Or rather, you didn't plan to give me a gift and didn't plan to be friends with me. But today you asked me to meet you, hoping they'll give you face. Let me ask you, where does your face come from? You. Mo Wushang choked and couldn't breathe. His old face flushed red, and he was speechless. The cold Xiao Lungyue frowned as an expression of unhappiness appeared on her face. She then spoke in a heavy voice. Vice Leader Shun, old Mo has been famous for a long time, and his prestige is extremely high. Even I have to respectfully address him as senior. People of the pugilistic world and matters of the pugilistic world pay attention to seniority. Shinbangzhu is a rising star with a bright future ahead of him. Is it very difficult to give him some face? Today, you give him some face, and in the future, he will return the favor. Isn't this beneficial to both parties? I don't believe that Shinbangzhu hasn't asked for a favor in his life. Shunlian snorted and said in disdain, According to what you said, more than half of the pugilistic world is older than me and has greater prestige than me. Doesn't that mean that I have to carry their shoes when I meet them? Otherwise, I'm being unappreciative, right? Xiao Yue frowned and laughed coldly. Shin Bangzhu is so unreasonable and unreasonable. It seems like you don't plan to let this matter rest. Shun Lian narrowed his eyes and smiled. The three elders are famous in the pugilistic world. Shen has long wanted to learn from you. Peng. Xiao Lingyue slammed the table and stood up angrily. You're indeed arrogant and despotic. You asked for it. Kong Yu and Bu Kong stood up at the same time. They glared at Xiao Lingyue and shouted, "How dare you? Our sect leader is not someone you can shout at." With swords drawn and bows bent, the atmosphere suddenly became extremely tense. Shun Lian waved his hand calmly and said coldly, "They are coming for me. Don't attack first. Let me deal with them." Kong Yu and Bu Kong exchanged glances and slowly retreated to the side. At this moment, Yiting Yu tugged at Xiao Yue's sleeves and stood up. She smiled warmly. "I've heard that Shun Bangzhu's swordsmanship is extraordinary. Yiting Yu is also a sword fanatic and has long wanted to learn from you. Please enlighten me." Shun Lian laughed. "That's more like it. Sons and daughters of the pugilistic world, wielding swords, riding on mounts, wielding phantom rain, the heart of a tiger, smelling the roses. If you're right, stand. If you're wrong, fall." Yiting Yu was slightly stunned when she heard this. She couldn't help but stare deeply at Shun Lian as her expression turned heavy. The two walked into the spacious hall and faced each other with a few meters between them. After Yiting Yu steadied herself, she flicked her sleeves and flipped her hand to take out an item. It was shaped like a green bamboo leaf and looked like it was carved from jade. It was as thin as paper and as light as a feather. She held it in her palm and said sternly, "This is the demonic armament, Jade Leaf. It's a perfect match for my sword leaf goo. I have also figured out the misty rain sword intent, allowing me to deliver endless killer moves when attacking and form an impenetrable defense when defending." As her voice faded, the jade leaf in Yiting Yu's palm suddenly flew up and revolved around her. It was like a fish swimming in the water and then rushed toward a chair not far away. In an instant, the jade leaf disappeared from everyone's sight and turned into a misty rain that enveloped the chair. A fine rain, like smoke, fell on the chair. Only a series of grinding sounds could be heard. The entire chair suddenly collapsed and turned into wood powder when it landed on the ground. It actually turned into fine powder. Seeing this scene, Kong Yu and Bu Kong all held their breaths. Their expressions changed, and they couldn't help but feel a wave of shock. What a terrifying misty rain! As expected of the Tower Lord of Tingyu Tower, the misty rain sword intent is famous in the pugilistic world. Xiao Lingyue exclaimed. Mo Wushang nodded his head, and a cold smile appeared on his face. "Shin Bangzhu, what do you think?" Yiting Yu retracted her jade leaf and hovered it beside her. Her face couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride. Until now, he still didn't want to fight with Shun Lian. After all, he was a veteran of the pugilistic world and a peacemaker. To resolve the grudges, he would not fight unless necessary. Otherwise, if word got out, he would be seen as a bully. He would be no different from those thugs. Moreover, they might need New Kuen's help in the future. Naturally, they didn't want to fall out with New Kuen. Therefore, Yiting Yu purposely revealed this move with the intention of intimidating Shun Lian. She wanted to subdue him without a fight. Shun Lian raised his eyebrows and chuckled. "This play of yours is not bad." "Play?" Yiting Yu's face sank. She said coldly, "Then let's invite Shun Bangzhu to have a taste." The jade leaf rushed over. When it got close, it once again turned into a misty rain and enveloped them. It carried with it endless coldness. "Sect Master, be careful." Kong Yu couldn't help but exclaim. Bu Kong also tensed up as he watched anxiously. "Come at me." Shun Lian opened his sleeves, and the Heaven Eclipse sword landed in his hand. He swung the sword at a certain point in front of him. With a ding sound, the sword collided with something. That thing was sent flying and spun in midair. It was the jade leaf. Jade leaf. Everyone's pupils constricted as they were shocked. They all thought that the jade leaf had turned into a misty rain which was the demon soldier's ability. Only now did they see the truth clearly. The jade leaf was flying too fast as lightning, forming layers upon layers of dense afterimages. This made it look like a misty rain. But in fact, the jade leaf did not change at all. Shun Lian had even grasped its trajectory and struck it. Jade leaf misty rain, so that's how it is. So the sword leaf goo is a sword controlling goo. Sword controlling to kill, taking the head of a person from 1,000 miles away. Amazing. However, Yiting Yu's misty rain sword intent pursues speed and not distance. After seeing through the secret, everyone came to a realization. The jade leaf was hidden within the misty rain. As long as they found the jade leaf, they could naturally defend against the jade leaf's attack. However, even though they had seen through it, the jade leaf was so fast that it was too much for their eyes to take in. It was impossible to guard against it, so how could they block it? The more they saw through it, the more they felt the terror of the jade leaf. Yiting Yu's killer move is indeed powerful, but Shun Lian is not to be trifled with. Xiaoling Yue and Mo Wushang's expressions changed as they became nervous. Kongyu, Buling Kong, however, heaved a sigh of relief. In the first exchange, Shun Lian clearly had the upper hand. Yiting Yu's heart also shuddered as she snorted angrily. Watch out! Her hand moved, and the jade leaf flew along with it. It was even faster. The misty rain became even denser, spreading around Shun Lian's body. It was as if he was standing in the rain. Competing in speed with me? You are fast, but I am faster. Shun Lian attacked at the instant the jade leaf moved. A sword light suddenly lit up. It was also misty and dense, forming a vacuum light ball that completely enveloped Shun Lian's entire body. There was no loophole, no flaw. The misty rain was completely isolated by the light ball. Ding, ding, ding. At the place where the light ball and the misty rain met, sparks flew everywhere. That was the sword edge continuously clashing with the jade leaf. Under Dharma World, Shun Lian released his consciousness. There were no secrets in the surrounding 10 feet. The jade leaf was as fast as lightning, but it was firmly captured by his consciousness. As for his overflowing rain sword art, it was infused with the wind-chasing sword art speed. It was extremely fast, and the jade leaf was unable to do anything to him. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the battle. Unknowingly, 10 minutes had passed. Yiting Yu could not help but feel a little restless after such a long battle. After all, the Misty Rain Sword intent was a killer move that he was proud of. Its speed and sharpness were unparalleled. Who would have thought, huh? Yiting Yu suddenly waved her hand, and the jade leaf flew back to her side. She raised her eyebrows and said, Shin Bongzhu's sword art is indeed extraordinary. I still have a move, Flying Ray. If you can withstand it, I will admit defeat. Shun Lian held his sword horizontally in front of him and said calmly, Please. Yiting Yu took a deep breath, and her expression was incomparably solemn. She hugged the jade leaf with both hands, and the jade-like jade leaf shone brightly. It was resplendent and dazzling, and it suddenly shot out, transforming into a sword ray that flew over. Heaven and earth lost their colors. Only that sword light was left. What a great move, Flying Ray. Mo Wushang, Xiaoling Yue, Kong Yu, and Boling Kong all turned pale with fright. Interesting. Shun Lian's pupils shrunk. This move was so powerful that even he did not dare to be careless. The penetrative power was so great that even the silver rank 6 Jade Snake Gu might not be able to defend against it. This was the strongest killer move that Shun Lian had encountered since he entered the pugilistic world. Teleportation Gu, I do not want to expose it yet. Otherwise, I would have ended the battle long ago. Then, in an instant, the heaven-eroding sword in Shun Lian's hand shook. Its aura rose sharply and turned into a 10-feet-long sword. Black lightning coiled around it as it flew forward. 3-inch flying sword. The 3-inch-long black flying sword shot out from the tip of the sword. It was wrapped in black lightning as it collided with the flying ray. 2 powerful forces exploded in an instant. Immediately, a rumbling sound could be heard, shaking everyone's eardrums. Terrifying aura waves surged in all directions. The floorboards under their feet were lifted up and sent flying. Tables and chairs were sent flying into the walls, windows, and doors. The shock waves even spread to the Wei River, causing the river water to churn. Yu kept her jade leaf, but her expression was gloomy. On the jade leaf, small cracks appeared, but in an instant the cracks healed. Shunlian calmly stood opposite her. From start to finish, he had not moved a single step. He said playfully, "You attack, I defend. You can't do anything to me. Why don't we switch? I'll attack and you defend." Yu smiled bitterly and said, "My jade leaf uses speed to win. You are faster than me. The result is the same in terms of attack and defense. I lost." Hearing this, Mo Wushang and Xiao Yue's expressions froze. Their expressions turned incomparably solemn. Shun Lian smiled from the bottom of his heart and said, "Your misty rain sword intent is unparalleled in its profoundness. If not for my overflowing rain sword technique's pursuit of speed, ruthlessness, and accuracy, I might have been the one to lose today's sword competition." Yu smiled and cupped her fists. "If there's a chance, I'm willing to have a long talk with Shen Bangzhu to discuss sword techniques and improve together." "Of course." Shun Lian smiled warmly. Next, he turned to Mo Wushang and Xiao Yue. Chapter 140. Xiao Yue's brows furrowed as she snorted. "Pavilion Lord, he has never been a competitive person, but I am different. I have a blade. I wonder if Shen Bangzhu dares to take it?" Shun Lian's lips curled. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Swoosh! A cold light flashed as a blade appeared in Xiao Yue's hand. The blade looked like it was carved from green jade. It was shaped like a crescent moon, grand and majestic. It emitted a cold light, and the cold air was extremely threatening. At once, everyone's gazes landed on this strangely shaped crescent blade. "This is Pavilion Lord Zhao's famed blade, Cold Moon." Yu's expression changed slightly. Xiao Yue had the nickname Blade Never Returned. Once her blade was unsheathed, there was no mercy. Those who were slashed by her would all die under her blade, without exception. Xiao Yue's blade is unstoppable. Mo Wushang stroked his beard and smiled. She rarely uses her blade to injure people, but when she does, blood will splatter everywhere. Shun Lian heard this, and his gaze shone on Cold Moon Blade as he praised. "Good blade." Xiao Yue raised her chin. The blade's tip also rose as she said proudly, "This blade is called Cold Moon Blade. It is incomparably sharp and can cut through even the slightest hair. What is even more mystical is that this blade contains infinite spirit energy." "Infinite?" Shun Lian narrowed his eyes. Xiao Yue used a lot of force when she said these two words. A ruthless and domineering expression appeared on her face, causing him to be on guard. Xiao Yue chuckled. "Cold Moon Blade and my Moon Blade Gu work together perfectly, forming a unique ability. This ability is the blade can store the essence of the moon." "Storage?" Shun Lian's heart skipped a beat, and his expression turned serious. Xiao Yue said proudly, "Although the sky is black and white, and the moon is waxing and waning, be it day or night, there will always be moonlight pouring down on the earth. Cold Moon Blade and Moon Blade Gu work together to absorb the essence of the moon and store it in the blade. Think about it. If I hid my blade for 10 years, how much moon essence would I have stored? With so much moon essence, if I release it all at once and form a crescent blade attack, how terrifying would that be?" This, Kong Yu and Bulinkong were shocked. They even shuddered a little. If Xiao Yue's words weren't false, then that saber strike of hers contained boundless might. It was simply indomitable and terrifying. If one's thoughts are restrained, all good will come together. If one's thoughts are unrestrained, 100 evils will take advantage of it. Shen Bangzhu, once I unleash my saber, there's no way I can take it back. Please take care of yourself. It's still not too late for you to stop now." Xiao Yue's lips curled as she persuaded. An expression of not wanting to injure Qin Wentian. After all, she had hidden this knife for many years to save her life. It was not worth it to use it on Shun Lian. Shun Lian was also surprised but he quickly calmed down and asked, "How many years have you been hiding your saber?" "It's been exactly 9 years since the last time I acted. There's only 2 months left to the 10-year mark." Xiao Yue replied. "Can't the energy stored in the cold moon saber be released bit by bit?" Shun Lian raised his eyebrows. "No. Once the saber is unleashed, all of its energy will be used. Honestly speaking, I don't want to use this saber strike on Shen Bangzhu. After all, we have no enmity or grudges." Xiao Yue said seriously. Shun Lian nodded and said calmly, "Then I will definitely be able to receive this saber strike." "Oh, Shun Bangzhu, where did your confidence come from?" Xiao Yue's expression sank as she raised her saber slightly. "Very simple. Gu masters have a strict hierarchy. White rank, bronze rank, silver rank, gold rank. Every rank has an intrinsic difference, an insurmountable gap. You are a silver rank Gu master. Thus you cannot possess strength that surpasses a gold rank Gu master. If I'm not wrong, the combination of the demon weapon Cold Moon Saber and your Moonblade Gu will allow you to unleash strength that is silver rank 10. It is definitely not limitless," Shun Lian said decisively. Xiao Yue's expression froze as her face tightened. She forced a smile. "Maybe you are right, because I have never fully stored the moon essence in the Cold Moon Saber. After the Cold Moon Saber released the moon essence in one go, the absorption of the moon essence would be extremely fast for the first 3 months. But towards the end, the absorption speed would slow down and become increasingly slower. By the 9th year, it was as slow as a turtle. The reason why Xiao Yue hid her saber for close to 10 years was actually to test the limits of the Cold Moon Saber. Shun Lian's deduction was actually the same as Xiao Yue's. However, things that have not been verified would always tempt people to verify them. Xiao Yue took a deep breath. "Even if Shun Bangzhu is right, can you be sure you can receive a full strength attack from a silver rank 10 Gu master?" Shun Lian was extremely confident. "Please." Xiao Yue's eyes shone with a cold light. The Cold Moon Saber suddenly emitted rings of light that spread outwards like water ripples. Rumble. A crescent blade formed on the saber's edge and shot out. The crescent blade was silvery white and as thin as a cicada's wing. It roared like thunder, shaking the hearts of people. The moment the Cold Moon Saber was unleashed, it was like thunder tearing apart the skies, like tidal waves flooding the earth. It was ferocious and vast. Even the crescent blade itself became blurry and untraceable. The crescent blade was too fast. It arrived in the blink of an eye. The icy cold crescent blade rushed towards Shun Lian. "Arg!" Shun Lian roared in anger. His aura surged as a dragon claw appeared in his hand, growing to the size of a square table as he smashed it towards the crescent blade. A thunderous boom rang out. The silvery light exploded outwards. The moon blade shattered into small pieces that looked like fish scales and finally dissipated in the surging air. It was as though a dragon's roar resounded through the air. Xiao Yue sucked in a breath of cold air as the light from the Cold Moon Saber dimmed rapidly. Yitingyu didn't seem too surprised, because when Shun Lian said he could receive the attack, Yitingyu didn't doubt his words at all. Mo Wushang's lips twitched. "Good." The nervous Kong Yu and Bu Lingkong couldn't help but cheer loudly. As expected of the sect leader, he defeated 2 elders of the pugilistic world consecutively. Xiao Yue sighed. Her slightly stiff expression quickly relaxed as she revealed a smile. "Shun Bangzhu, thank you for your guidance." Shun Lian nodded and turned to Mo Wushang. "Boss Missouri, it's your turn." Mo Wushang was a little speechless. He sighed and walked forward slowly. "Shun Bangzhu, my methods are a little strange. Sorry for the offense." He raised his hand and made a grabbing motion towards Shun Lian. In the next instant, Shun Lian felt a strong suction force pulling towards him as his body flew forward. The scene in front of him changed drastically. He appeared in front of a building. It was a 3-story building, and there was a signboard hanging on the door with the words Wushang written on it. Teleported? This was clearly not Heavenly Water Pavilion. Kong Yu and the rest were not here. Shun Lian looked around and found that he was in the wilderness. The wilderness was shrouded in mist, and he couldn't see far. There is only one building left in this world, Wushang Inn. Shenbangzhu, please come in. Mo Wushang's voice came from the inn. Shen Lian took a deep breath and walked through the door. Inside the door was the standard hall of the inn. There were tables and chairs everywhere. Mo Wushang stood behind the counter, smiling like the owner of the inn. Everyone calls you the owner of Wushang Inn, but no one has seen Wushang Inn before. So this Wushang Inn exists in a different space. Shen Lian said in surprise. Mo Wushang cupped his fists and smiled. I won't hide it from Shan Bangzhu. I was originally a waiter in a certain inn. I was born in the inn and grew up in the inn. I have never left the inn for most of my life. One day, a few gu masters came to the inn and started fighting due to a disagreement. In the inn, they all died. When I was cleaning up their corpses, I found an embroidered box on one of the gu masters. There was a strange gu in the box. I tried to refine it, but to my surprise, I succeeded in refining it very smoothly. That gu did not have a name. After refining it, I came to this inn. Thus, I named it Gu. I am the owner of this inn, and the people who enter the inn are all guests. Shen Lian said coldly, now that I am in your territory, how do you want to compete with me? Mo Wushang waved his hand and laughed. There's only you and me here. The innkeeper and the customer are only here. There's no need to fight. Furthermore, the inn is me, and I am the inn. In here, no one can harm me. Oh, Shen Lian was a little doubtful. Not only me, all the tables and chairs here have the attribute of being indestructible. That is where the name Wushang came from. Mo Wushang said calmly. Shen Lian heard this and immediately walked to a table. He slammed his right hand on it. With a loud bang, the force of his palm rebounded, but the table was not damaged at all. Wushang, Shen Lian's gaze flashed and he turned his head, asking, as a customer, I have the right to enter and leave, right? Mo Wushang said, that's right. You can leave at any time. Once you leave the inn, you will immediately return to Celestial Water Pavilion. He paused. However, Shen Bangzhu, don't you want to know the benefits of staying in Wushang Inn? I would like to hear the details. Once a customer obtains the right to stay in Wushang Inn, no matter where they are, at any time, they can immediately enter the inn with just a thought. That is to say, Wushang Inn is an excellent shelter. Exactly. Everyone would encounter danger at some point or even lose their lives. The Wushang Tavern was a way to save one's life. As long as you are in Wushang Inn, no one can harm you. If two customers happen to be arch-enemies and meet in Wushang Inn, what will the result be? Mo Wushang laughed and said, I have many customers. They are all in the inn right now. Have you seen any of them? Shen Lian listened attentively and activated his all-pervasive wind. In the end, he found nothing. It seemed that all the rooms were empty. Mo Wushang said, this is the most magical part of Wushang Inn. When I don't want two customers to meet, even if they are in the main hall, they will not be able to sense each other's existence. You can put different people into different spaces. Shen Lian was shocked. Mo Wushang was like a god in the inn. Mo Wushang smiled and said, it's just a small trick. This is the inn's special effect. I just have the right to use it. Then, how can one obtain the right to stay in the inn? Shen Lian asked. Mo Wushang laughed and clapped his hands. With a rumbling sound, a gambling table rose up in the main hall. There were many mahjong-sized bronze plates on the table. There were words on the plates, and the plates were divided into 4 types: heaven, earth, human, and slave. There's 1 heaven card, 3 earth cards, 100 man cards, and 1,000 slave cards. Mo Wushang explained. As you can see, the way to obtain the right to stay in Wushang Inn is to gamble. Gambling is the only way. How do we gamble? Shen Lian looked at the bronze plates on the table. Let me demonstrate. Mo Wushang walked to the table and blew. All the bronze plates immediately flipped over. The sides with words were facing up, and they began to move irregularly. They collided with each other, like a mahjong tile being shuffled. Customers can choose one of these bronze plates, obtain the slave plate, and obtain the right to stay. The rent will be paid with lifespan. The number of days of stay will start from 1 day. Even if you only stay for a breath of time, the rent will be calculated according to 1 day. One day's rent will be 1 year of lifespan. Obtain the human plate and obtain the right to stay. The rent can be paid with lifespan or property. The number of days of stay will be the same as above. The number of years of stay will be the same as above. The specific price will be agreed upon by both parties. Obtain the earth plate and obtain the right to stay permanently. There are only 3 earth plates. They represent the shopkeeper, the waiter, and the chef. While enjoying the right to stay permanently, they also have to bear the corresponding responsibilities. If they give up their responsibilities, it is equivalent to giving up their right to stay permanently, and they will be expelled by the inn. Finally, there is the heaven plate. There is only one, and it represents the boss. Obtain the heaven plate and obtain the right to stay in Wushang Inn. The original owner will automatically be demoted to shopkeeper. For example, if you obtain the heaven plate, then Wushang Inn will be yours. I will be demoted by 1 level and become the shopkeeper to serve you. Mo Wushang said as he picked up a plate from a mess. Turning it over, he saw that it was a human plate. He smiled. My luck is not bad. Shun Lian was bewildered. The Ngu is in your hands. How can anyone else become the owner of the inn? Mo Wushang chuckled. Actually, it is very simple. If you become my master, isn't it the same as owning the Ngu? Shun Lian was slightly stunned, speechless, to think you were a crazy gambler. Mo Wushang laughed. I think Shin Bangzhu can also tell that my chances of winning are very high. Once the customer obtains the human plate or slave plate, then we'll take away their lifespan. I can also absorb some lifespan from it to extend my lifespan. I won't hide it from you. I am already over 120 years old. Shun Lian was deeply moved. This temptation was too great. I want to give it a try. Shun Lian said. Okay. Shun Lian immediately released his heaven and earth avatar and scanned those bronze plates with his divine sense. The result was that his divine sense was blocked, and he was unable to obtain any information. This made his heart sink. Chapter 141. Cheat Prevention? That's simple. Mo Wushang took out a contract and smiled. Businessmen value integrity. What is integrity? It's written in black and white. Shin Bangzhu, don't worry, I'm not running a scam. Wushang seems to have its own will and doesn't allow me to run a scam. At the same time, a goo appeared in his palm. It looked like a human face with no nose and an abnormally large mouth. Half of its face was black and half white. Mo Wushang said, You and I will sign the contract with our blood. The rest will be left to the keep your word goo. Shun Lian took the contract and looked at it carefully. It did indeed restrict the inn owner from cheating the customers, but there weren't many restrictions on the customers. You're not worried about the customers cheating? Shun Lian asked in astonishment. Mo Wushang smiled and said, To be honest, there is no need to sign a contract. This gambling table is provided by the inn. I've racked my brains trying to find a loophole, but it was to no avail. The customers who come here to gamble are the same. No matter what I did, no one was able to cheat. That is to say, the customers can use any probing method. Shun Lian was naturally referring to the power of the goo. Of course, before you flip over the cards, you can use any method to probe. By the way, if you flip over multiple cards at once, the result will be calculated based on the worst one. For example, if you flip over both the human and slave cards at the same time, the final result will be the slave card. Mo Wushang reminded. Shun Lian slowly put down the card he had picked up. He had tried to use his finger strength to make a mark on the bronze card, but found that the bronze card also had an indestructible attribute. Even divine sense can't probe. Other methods are even more useless. Shun Lian thought to himself. This kind of gamble based on luck had a high chance of failure. There were a total of 1,100 human and slave cards, accounting for 6% of the total number of cards. The probability of getting a heaven or earth card was close to 0. Even so, there are still many people willing to gamble, because no matter what card they drew, they could obtain the right to stay. It was equivalent to obtaining a chance to save their lives. The biggest price to pay was a year of lifespan. Compared to losing one's life, it was clear which was more important. It wasn't hard to make a choice. Wushang Inn, Ngu, gambling platform. Mo Wushang said that the inn seems to have its own will. The gambling table is also a part of the inn. Based on these 2 points, the inn must have set up such a bet. Assuming that all the above information is true and accurate, and that there are winners and losers in gambling, this means that the inn itself has a trace of hope that someone will obtain the heaven character token and become the owner of the inn, replacing Mo Wushang. Shun Lian's mind worked intensely. Mo Wushang said that after he refined the inn goo, he immediately came to this inn in another space. From this, we can deduce 2 possibilities. Firstly, Wushang exists in a different space. The inn goo is only a directional teleportation goo used to enter and leave this place. Secondly, Wushang was formed from Ingu. Mo Wushang and I are currently inside the Ingu. As for the alternate space where the inn is, it is the Ingu's aperture. The goo will choose the most suitable goo master for itself. Based on this deduction, the second possibility is more likely. Mo Wushang is 6% suitable for the Ingu, but not 100%. The Ingu has its own will, and through the gambling platform, it can find the most suitable goo master. If I am inside the Ingu, then things are much simpler. Because Shun Lian had the Life Twister goo, there was no goo that the Life Twister goo couldn't handle. Thinking of this, Shun Lian's mind couldn't help but move. He pressed his palm on the gambling platform and quietly released the Life Twister goo. Buzz. Almost at the same time as the Life Twister goo touched the gambling platform, Shun Lian clearly felt the entire and tremble slightly. But Mo Wushang didn't seem to have noticed this. Life Twister goo, can you help me find the Heaven character token? Shun Lian's mind communicated with the Life Twister goo, and a moment later, one of the bronze tokens on the gambling platform suddenly stopped moving. With 1104 bronze tokens moving chaotically on the gambling platform, even if one bronze token stopped moving, it wouldn't be conspicuous. Mo Wushang didn't notice it, and Shun Lian only noticed it because he had the Heaven and Earth manifestation. Shun Lian calmly stretched out his hand and grabbed 4 to 5 bronze tokens. He glanced at them and put them back, his expression still uncertain. Mo Wushang wasn't anxious at all, but he's still persuaded with a smile. Shen Bangzhu, everyone has a life and death moment. It's best to have a life-saving method. Moreover, the benefits aren't limited to this. For example, after staying here, you can have secret talks with other customers or trade some special items. It's completely confidential, and nobody will know. Shun Lian nodded and said, "All right, I'll take the bet. Although the contract doesn't have any effect, it's better if we sign it." Mo Wushang was overjoyed and quickly dripped his blood to sign. Shun Lian also dripped his blood to sign. Then, the goo ate the contract, and the 2 of them completed the extremely difficult to break oath. Then, Shun Bangzhu, please start choosing your token. Mo Wushang said with a smile. Between his brows, there was a hint of complacency. No one could resist the temptation of Wushang Inn, and all the customers who stayed here chose either a human token or a slave token. Up until now, no one had ever picked an Earth token, not to mention a Heaven token. Shun Lian's expression gradually became nervous, and his hand moved here and there, hesitating and hesitating. Mo Wushang calmly waited. "It's you." Shun Lian suddenly pressed down on a bronze token and slowly picked it up. "Please show your token." Mo Wushang wasn't nervous at all. He had experienced this too many times. Everyone thought they were lucky, but what awaited them was the endless disappointment of showing their slave token. There are 1,000 slave tokens and only 104 other tokens. Being able to pick a human token is already considered lucky. However, there is a huge trap buried here. Customers who get the Chevron token have 2 payment methods, lifespan or money, and the payment method of money is agreed upon by both parties. As long as I ask for an exorbitant price to break the deal, the customer's luck will be nullified in the blink of an eye. So what awaits you is always the slave token. Mo Wushang finally revealed a sinister expression, and couldn't help but reveal a sinister smile. "Ha!" Shun Lian flipped the bronze token over and placed it on the gambling table, and slowly moved his hand away. Mo Wushang looked at it casually, and suddenly, the sinister smile on his face froze. Heaven. On the bronze token, the word heaven was impressively written. Mo Wushang's mind instantly went blank. Ah, what luck! I actually got a heaven token. Shun Lian suddenly exclaimed, pulling Mo Wushang back to reality. Mo Wushang blinked his eyes as he regained his senses. He stared at the heaven tablet and felt that the world was spinning. In the next moment, Shun Lian suddenly had a wonderful feeling, as if he had become one with the entire inn, and a lot of information flowed into his mind. Wushang and owner Shun Lian, shopkeeper Mo Wushang. Currently, there are 1749 slave token customers and 14 human token customers. Fee method, advance fee. Note, customers whose lifespan is less than 1 year will automatically lose their right to stay. Customers can only enter their own rooms and can only meet other customers in the corridor hall area. Wushang and owner has the right to expel undesirable customers. Wushang and owner has the right to absorb lifespan, but during the period of using lifespan, it will no longer be indestructible. Wushang and owner. A lot of information surged in Shun Lian's mind like the sea. At this moment, expel Shun Lian. Mo Wushang seemed to have gone crazy, and he screamed and waved his hand fiercely at Shun Lian, gesturing for him to leave. Shun Lian looked at him indifferently. After a while, Shun Lian still stood in front of the inn, and nothing happened. Mo Wushang showed an expression as if he had seen a ghost, and his whole body turned cold as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Wushang in his mind. Shun Lian said softly, "If you want to take it back, it is very simple. Give up your shopkeeper status and become a customer. Take a gamble and win it back." Mo Wushang seemed to have gone crazy and shouted, "You cheated, right? How did you do it?" Shun Lian calmly said, "I'm a proud son of heaven. My luck has always been very good. Don't you know?" Mo Wushang was like he had been struck by lightning. "I am now the owner of Wushang Inn and have the right to expel you. If I expel you, it is the same as taking away your Ngu, right?" Shun Lian laughed coldly. Mo Wushang's hair stood on end, and he finally calmed down and quickly said, "Don't expel me. I am willing to be the shopkeeper of boss and manage the inn for boss. Kneel down now." Shun Lian shouted out of nowhere. Mo Wushang trembled and lowered his head to kneel in front of Shun Lian. Shun Lian's lips curled up, and with a thought, the two instantly left Wushang Inn and appeared in Celestial Water Pavilion. Shun Lian stood, while Mo Wushang knelt in front of him. In the pavilion, Yi Tingyu, Xiao Lingyue, Kong Yu, and Bu Lingkong, the four of them were anxiously waiting. Suddenly, the sudden scene created a huge impact, as if it was imprinted on their retina, and the four of them were all stunned. Mo Wushang also found himself back in Celestial Water Pavilion at the next second, and his face turned red, wishing he could find a hole to hide in. A grand elder of the pugilistic world was actually reduced to someone else's slave, and in front of Yi Tingyu and Xiao Lingyue, he truly could not raise his head. "Elder Mo," Yi Tingyu asked with a shocked expression, and Xiao Lingyue's eyes also opened wide. Mo Wushang was simply speechless and didn't know where to start. Shun Lian helped Mo Wushang up and replied with a smile, "Pavilion Lord Yi, Pavilion Lord Xiao, the north is about to be plunged into chaos, and an unprecedented calamity is about to erupt, and everyone is in danger. A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in, and after careful consideration, Boss Missouri has decided to join New Kuan and become an elder of our sect." Yi Tingyu and Xiao Lingyue were completely stunned. What was going on? Mo Wushang was an elder of the pugilistic world, and he was even more famous than them. In terms of status, he was actually higher than the sect leader of New Kuan, and yet, he actually submitted. What exactly happened? Not only Yi Tingyu, Xiao Lingyue, Kong Yu, and Bu Lingkong were also completely stunned and couldn't believe it. Shun Lian suddenly raised his hand. "Pavilion Lord Yi, Pavilion Lord Xiao, are the two of you interested in joining New Kuan?" Yi Tingyu and Xiao Lingyue exchanged glances, and both frowned, Shen Bangzhu, are you joking? Why? Do you feel that I'm not qualified to lead you guys? Without waiting for them to finish their words, Shun Lian retorted, you guys don't seem to have realized how this matter should end today. Why did I send people everywhere to force those sects to hand over the congratulatory gifts? What's my intention? Actually, it's just to announce one thing. The northern lands are my pugilistic world. Those who submit to me will prosper. Those who resist me will perish. What are the elders of the pugilistic world? Are they very impressive? Just based on the disrespect you guys showed me today, I can kill you anytime I want. Sparing your lives is merely to give you a chance. Yiting Yu's expression turned incomparably ugly. She asked, either we submit to you, or we die. Is that right? In this chaotic world, the victor is king. I've won, and you guys have to bear the consequences. Shun Lian coldly replied. Preposterous. Xiao Lung Yue coldly laughed. Even if you won, do you think you can make us stay? If I, Xiao Lung Yue, want to leave, no one can make me stay. Shun Lian spoke. Why don't you give it a try? I'll let you run 30 meters first. Xiao Lung Yue soared into the air as moonlight shimmered around her. Her entire person was like an arrow leaving the bow. A loud bang was heard. Xiao Lung Yue screamed as she was flung backwards, slamming into the ground as she coughed out a mouthful of blood. Teleportation. Yiting Yu exclaimed in shock as her countenance drastically changed. I've said it before, this is my pugilistic world. As people of the pugilistic world, how can you escape from my palms? Shun Lian coldly spoke. Xiao Lung Yue was so angry that she was trembling. She had never suffered such humiliation before. This was simply a great humiliation. I won't submit to you. Stop dreaming. Xiao Lung Yue gritted her teeth and roared. Then you can go to hell. Shun Lian's smile was cold. The heaven-eroding sword was placed on Xiao Lung Yue's neck. The coldness of the sword caused her to be unable to breathe as her countenance turned pale. The fear of death enveloped her. Chapter 142. Only now did Kong Yu and Bu Lingkong realize that from the start, Shun Lian had no intention of negotiating with the three elders. He was here to subdue the three elders. What were the elders of the pugilistic world? They each had their own unique abilities, were slick and had a wide network of connections, and had the authority to command the masses. If the major sects of the pugilistic world were to be compared to different countries' currencies, such as RMB, Japanese yen, etc., then the elders of the pugilistic world would be the universal currency, just like the US dollar. It could be said that only those influential characters who could summon the wind and rain in the pugilistic world would have the qualifications to become elders. Subduing the elders of the pugilistic world was akin to subduing the seniors, shaking the foundation of the pugilistic world. This was simply a fantasy, a pipe dream. Yet Shun Lian dared to think of such a thing, dared to do such a thing, and even succeeded. He first defeated Yiting Yu, then defeated Xiao Lung Yue. Although he didn't find a suitable breakthrough point from them, he managed to stabilize them, planting a seed in their hearts. The last to appear was Mo Wushang, who was also the elder with the highest prestige. Unexpectedly, he was subdued first. Using this as a breakthrough point, Shun Lian displayed the dominance of the pugilistic world, intimidating Yiting Yu and Xiao Lung Yue. If he wasn't domineering, it wouldn't work. As expected, the proud and aloof Xiao Lung Yue resisted fiercely. Although she was defeated by Shun Lian, her heart was still filled with unwillingness. She was like a proud and unyielding horse. Thinking about it, as the host of the pugilistic world, she was an existence that stood at the peak of the pugilistic world in the north, looking down on the masses. Her influence was immense, and she was extremely respected. But now, she was being stepped on by Shun Lian, who descended from the heavens. She naturally couldn't accept such an outcome. At this moment, Mo Wushang stood out and acted as a peacemaker, pulling Xiao Lung Yue and Yiting Yu to the side to persuade them. Do the two of you know why I want to submit to Shen Bangzhu? Mo Wushang asked. This was also a question that Yiting Yu and Xiao Lung Yue couldn't understand. Instantly, they perked up their ears and listened seriously. That was then and this is now. Chaos is imminent in the northern lands. The people are in a terrible situation, and the entire Jianghu is in a precarious situation. The crisis we are facing is not something that us 3 Jianghu elders can solve. I've thought about it for a long time. Instead of having the entire world of martial artists fall apart, having everyone fight for themselves and struggling to survive, it would be better to unify the world of martial artists and have everyone work together. Perhaps not only will we be able to fight for a chance of survival, we might even be able to create a different world of martial artists. In the entire Jianghu, only the 3 of us can command the entire Jianghu. However, the 3 of us each have our own way of doing things, and it's difficult for us to work together. None of us is suitable to be the boss. Mo Wushang stared at Shun Lian as he sighed in admiration. The times create heroes. Shun Bangzhu is an ambitious and ruthless character in this chaotic world, with the aura of a hegemon. He rose up in the face of danger, and the new Kuan under his control is the #1 sect in the north. Even with the 3 of us joining forces, we still can't stop his footsteps. Who else in the north can be his opponent? He's right. The pugilistic world in the north is already his. It's precisely because of this that I abandoned the pugilistic world and submitted to Shun Bangzhu. These are my true thoughts. As for whether the 2 of you can put down your pride, you have to consider it carefully. Here, I want to remind the 2 of you that Shun Bangzhu already has me. Having the 2 of you is like adding flowers to a brocade. Having the 2 of you less wouldn't affect the overall situation. But if the 2 of you don't submit to him, the consequences can be imagined. Do you want to create a new future together with Shun Bangzhu, or do you want to become a precedent for others? I hope the 2 of you can think twice before you act. Mo Wushang spoke with deep meaning. After hearing these words, Yitingyu's countenance turned gloomy while Shaolin Yue pursed her lips tightly. After Mo Wushang finished speaking, he walked away and cast a glance at Shun Lian. This Mo Wushang, his thoughts are indeed clear. Shun Lian silently mused. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding. One was playing the role of a good cop, while the other was playing the role of a good cop. Facing a prideful elder of the pugilistic world, Shun Lian had no choice but to be domineering. He could only use intimidation and pressure. However, Mo Wushang was different. He could put himself in their shoes and use kind words to rope them in. By putting himself in their shoes, it was very easy to sway them. A moment later, after Yitingyu and Shaolin Yue had a discussion, they walked over and bowed. Yitingyu, Shaolin Yue, pay our respects to Shun Bangzhu. The 2 of you please rise. Shun Lian hurriedly raised his hand. Congratulations to the 2 of you for becoming Elder Nu Kuan. Speaking of which, the 2 of you are my seniors. Please guide me in the future. We don't dare. Yitingyu and Shaolin Yue hurriedly replied. Your subordinates will definitely do our best to assist sect leader in unifying the pugilistic world. They actually submitted. Kong Yu was dumbfounded. But Ling Kong was also extremely speechless. His heart was filled with great shock. The meeting between the 3 elders of the Celestial Water Pavilion and Shun Lian was closely watched by all the major sects of the pugilistic world. Very quickly, the news of the 3 elders submitting to Shun Lian spread to their ears. Instantly, the entire pugilistic world was dumbfounded. They were counting on the 3 elders to teach Shun Lian a lesson. Who would have thought that the 3 elders would submit to Shun Lian instead? Such an outcome was too shocking. It was simply inconceivable, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. The northern pugilistic world belongs to Shun Lian henceforth. Such a voice reverberated endlessly. Tangwang Mountain. The Li family had lived on Tangwang Mountain for generations and was a well-known winemaking family. According to legend, the ancestor of the Li clan happened to pass by the Tangwang Mountain and found spring. The spring water was milky white in color and had a rich, mellow fragrance. There was a stone tablet next to it, and on it was written the words, "When there is wine in life, one must get drunk. A drop of wine is worth 10,000 coins." The Li family's ancestor was delighted to see the hunt and wanted to taste the hot spring. Who would have thought that with just one sip, he would be drunk for 3 days and 3 nights before waking up? When he woke up, Li Clan's ancestors' eyes were like gods, shining brightly like pearls, and he was full of energy. What made him overjoyed was that he was holding a goo in his hand, but he could not remember where it came from. Its name was Wine Lily Goo. This goo was unique to the hot spring. The hot spring was called White Wine Spring, and the White Wine Spring contained the white wine goo. The Li family's ancestors successfully refined the white wine goo. This goo fed on the hot spring and could brew good wine. The wine was fragrant and mellow, and had the effect of replenishing vitality. This wine became the famous white wine. The Li family had been immersed in winemaking and selling wine for generations, and naturally accumulated a considerable amount of wealth. What was even more commendable was that the Li family style was very good. They had always been low-key and thrifty, just like winemaking. They had been sealed for 18 years. Just for the moment when the jar was opened, the intoxicating fragrance would assail the nostrils and spread everywhere. However, the Li family was having a bad time recently. For some reason, the Hua family suddenly interfered with the business of Tangwang Mountain. They were rude and unreasonable, not only asking the Li family to prohibit the sale of white wine, they also wanted to buy back the white wine that had already been sold. This caused the Li family to lose a lot of money and offend many customers. Until now, there was no explanation. This was not the end. After the people sent by the Hua clan messed around, they actually didn't leave. They stayed at the Tangwang Mountain, ate and drank to their heart's content, and ran amok. They wantonly squandered the Li clan's wealth, causing chaos in the Li clan. Alas, it's easy to invite a god, but hard to send one away. An uninvited god is even harder to send away. Inside the assembly hall, the three elders of the Li family were all frowning and gloomy. That Hua Xiong is a bastard. He took a fancy to my daughter-in-law and forced his way into our house when my son wasn't around to. One of the elders clenched his fists in anger. So what if your son is here? Can he stop Hua Xiong? You're lucky your son isn't here. Believe it or not, Hua Xiong will kill your son if they make a scene. Hua Xiong is the son of an aristocratic family. He's high and mighty and treats us like slaves. You've gone too far. You've gone too far. The three elders grumbled. The white wine lily goo was not a battle-type goo. The Li tribesmen had no way to resist. Even if the wine lily goo was a combat-type goo, it could not change the outcome in front of Hua clan's bloodline goo, the torment poison goo. Gloomy clouds covered the Li family's current situation. Li Nanhong did not say a word, only listening to the complaints of the three elders. They did not dare to say a word in front of the Hua tribesmen. They only dared to vent in front of him. Li Nanhong was waiting for someone to wake up. This person was drunk and had fallen asleep. She had slept for 100 days. Counting the days with her fingers, she should wake up today. Creak! Right at this moment, the door opened. A drunk young girl walked in, about 16 or 17 years old. She was petite, and her breath reeked of alcohol, hugging a wine jar. Yu Xiang, you're finally awake. Li Nanhong's spirits were lifted. This young girl was his adopted daughter, named Li Youxiang. This young girl was hiding a huge secret. About 100 years ago, a strange goo was born in the white wine lily spring. Its aura was extremely divine, and the Li family saw this goo as a sign of prosperity. However, no one in Li clan could refine this goo in several generations. Until 4 years ago, a hungry little beggar snuck into Tangwang Mountain, broke through layers of traps, and entered the white wine lily spring, drinking until she was full. When the Li family found the little beggar, she had already refined the strange goo in the white wine lily spring. Li Nanhong immediately took her in as his adopted daughter, treating her as his own. She was Li Youxiang. As for the secret of that strange goo, only she and Li Nanhong knew. Burp. Li Youxiang walked unsteadily, burping nonstop, her cheeks red. Youxiang girl, are you drunk again? You don't look like a lady at all. What a scandal, what a scandal. The three elders saw Li Youxiang's drunken appearance, sighing and shaking their heads, disappointment written all over their faces. Li Nanhong waved his hand, saying, "All right, you can go back first." The three elders left, and Li Youxiang casually sat on the elder's chair, saying, "Father, the Li family is almost finished. Li Nanhong's breathing stagnated. Because of the Hua family, yes, although the Hua family has not made a final decision. It will be soon, Li Youxiang said, drinking a mouthful of wine. Why? Our Li family is only a business that brews and sells wine, and has always been kind to others, never getting involved in grudges. Why must the Hua family exterminate our Li family? Because of the Tian family, the people of the Tian family were poisoned by the earth long. Li Youxiang spoke tirelessly, the details of the matter not the slightest bit different from the actual situation. So it's like this. Li Nanhong listened with trepidation, marveling at Li Youxiang's miraculous ability. A person who slept for 100 days actually knew everything that happened in the outside world. Chapter 143. The poison of the earth lung is a slow-acting poison that will gradually corrode one's internal organs. Those who are poisoned will die from extreme pain. The Tian family needs the wine to cure the poison of the earth lung, but the Hua family will not allow this to happen. Li Youxiang said, therefore, once the Tian family becomes desperate and sends people to the Tang Wang Mountain to snatch the wine, the Hua family will come to the Tang Wang Mountain in advance to arrange people. Of course, the Hua clan didn't come to the Tang King Mountain to protect our Li clan, but to make preparations to destroy all the white wine liquor. It's even to the extent that for the sake of eliminating future troubles, they'll annihilate the entire Li clan so that the white wine liquor will never appear in the world again. When Li Nanhong heard this, he shuddered and said in shock, so the day the Tian family attacks the Tang Wang Mountain will be the day the Li family will be exterminated? That is certain. Hua Xiong's secret order was as such. Li Youxiang said with a slanted glance. Li Nanhong said solemnly, how do we break out of this? I have an idea. Dad, you can go to Hua Xiong and offer him a good plan. First, put poison in the wine, and then think of a way to sell the poisoned wine to the Tian family. The Tian family will be caught off guard. This plan will definitely tempt Hua Xiong, and he will agree. This way, the Hua family will not exterminate our Li family. Li Nanhong said in shock, selling wine to harm people? How will the Li family survive in the future? Who will dare to drink the wine again? Taking a step back, as long as there is one person alive in the Tian family, they will have the ability to take revenge on our Li family. That Hua family is cold-blooded and will not protect our Li family at all times. Li Youxiang nodded. Father is not stupid. This plan is indeed the worst. Oh, then what is the best plan? The real antidote to the poison of the earth lung is the wine in the wine spring. Father will think of a way to leak this secret. It is best if he can contact the Tian family and secretly send the wine to them. After the Tian family has cured the poison of the earth lung, they will announce to the public that they have found another cure. This way, the Hua family will realize that there is no point in guarding the Tang Wang Mountain and will naturally let go. Li Youxiang finished speaking and began to drink. Li Nanhong frowned and said, this plan is too risky. If there is any mistake, it will be a great crime of colluding with the enemy. Is there no other way? That's all. When encountering such an unlucky situation, unless we work together with the Hua clan to harm the Tian clan or help the Tian clan solve their problem, our Li clan will always be stuck in the middle. With wolves in front and tigers behind, we will definitely die. Li Youxiang said seriously. An unexpected calamity, an unexpected calamity. Li Nanhong sighed heavily. At this moment, someone suddenly came to report that someone had smashed the wine shop at the foot of the mountain. Li Nanhong raised his eyebrows and said, isn't the wine shop over there closed already? That's right, but that person is extremely rude and unreasonable. He broke through the door, injured people, and insisted on buying wine. That person replied. Li Youxiang's heart skipped a beat as she asked, who is that person? He claims to be from New Kuan and is clamoring to see the family head. Outrageous. It's one thing for the Hua clan to bully our Li clan, but New Kuan also dares to come to our door. The Tang Wang Mountain is not New Kuan's territory. Li Nanhong, who was already in a bad mood, immediately flew into a rage. Li Youxiang was puzzled. The Tang Wang Mountain and New Kuan have nothing to do with each other. Their territories are also very far apart. Why would someone from New Kuan come to the Tangwang Mountain and behave atrociously for no reason? This matter is a little strange. Father, I will accompany you to see that person. Li Nanhong's angry expression disappeared. He had always followed his adopted daughter's advice. He immediately nodded and said, "Okay." The father and daughter quickly arrived at the wine shop. At first glance, the floor was in a mess. A tall and thin man with a fierce expression was sitting in the shop. This man was Tu Sanxian. Li Nanhong smiled and said, "Old man Li Nanhong, are you a friend of New Kuan?" Tu Sanxian sneered and cupped his hands, saying, "I am Tu Sanxian. Greetings, family Headley." Li Nanhong smiled and took out a jar of fermented rice wine soup and placed it in front of Tu Sanxian. He said, "This is a good old wine. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, the family is temporarily not doing business. This jar of wine is for friend Tu to taste." Tu Sanxian opened the lid and gulped down the wine. Huh. When Tu Sanxian put down the wine jar, he couldn't help but exhale a breath that reeked of alcohol. He praised, as expected of the fragrant fermented rice wine soup. "It is indeed a good wine." He didn't notice that all the alcohol he exhaled was inhaled by Li Youxiang, who was standing beside him. Li Youxiang's eyes blurred for a moment, then gradually became clear and bright. She suddenly walked forward and looked at Tu Sanxian with a smile. She said, "You came for the hot spring, right?" "You." Tu Sanxian's heart skipped a beat. He was just about to mention the gift and even thought of how to threaten the other party. How did this little girl know? You want to ask me how I know, right? Actually, you were the one who told me the truth when you're drunk. The smell of alcohol that you exhaled when you were drunk was the truth in your belly. When I smelled it, I knew everything. Your sect leader, Shun Bonglian, ordered the 12 elder candidates to go around and ask for gifts. Shun Bonglian also asked for the soup from Tangwang Mountain, right? Li Youxiang asked with her eyes wide open. Tu Sanxian was inexplicably surprised. His hostility and killing intent were suppressed by a little girl. He didn't know how to answer. Because Li Youxiang was right. It was as if she had experienced it herself. "Don't worry," Li Youxiang said. "We won't make things difficult for you. Please wait here for a moment. We'll immediately bring you several large vats of soup. We'll also have to trouble you to deliver a letter to Shinbangzhu. Of course, we won't let you help us for free. As long as Shun Bangzhu reads the letter, you will definitely be one of the 3 elders." After that, Li Youxiang pulled Li Nanhong and ran away quickly without waiting for Tu Sanxian's reply. Tu Sanxian was dumbfounded. What was going on? "Youxiang, what's going on?" Li Nanhong couldn't help but ask on the way. Shun Lian asked for the soup. There must be a deep meaning. I guess he learned 2 things. First, the Tian family was poisoned by the earth lung. Second, the soup can detoxify the poison. Therefore, he wanted to take this opportunity to make a deal with the Tian family. This person will be the savior of our Li family. Li Youxiang smiled. There was no trace of drunkenness on her face. Chapter 144. On Furong Street, pedestrians weaved together. "Miss, slow down." 2 maidservants lifted their skirts and followed closely behind Jean Renew, who was walking at a very fast speed. Not far behind the 3 of them, there were 4 retainers who were walking at a moderate pace. Although their strides were not big, they always kept a distance of 30 feet from Jean Renew. "I haven't gone out shopping for a long time. Today, I'm going to shop to my heart's content." Jean Renew laughed. This was the first time she was allowed to go out by her family after returning from the snake cave in Kanjia Mountain. Her whole person was cheering, like a wild horse out of control. Buy jewelry, buy new clothes, buy a stick of sugar-coated haws. Suddenly, a child rushed out from the front. Jean Renew didn't see and bumped into the child. The child fell to the ground and cried. "It hurts, it hurts." The child's hand was scraped and a bright red color seeped out. Jean Renew quickly helped the child up and gently wiped the bleeding wound with a handkerchief. "I'm sorry, little brother. Sister didn't see you. Don't cry. Sister will give you sugar-coated haws to eat, okay?" The child stopped crying and stared at the sugar-coated haws in her hand. Gulp. At this time, the sound of saliva swallowing could be heard. The child looked up and saw Jean Renew staring at him. Her eyes flashed with a red light, and saliva flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Sister. The child instinctively felt a chill. He suddenly didn't want to eat sugar-coated Haas. He just wanted to go home and find his mother. Gulp. Another swallowing sound. The child was sure that it was the big sister next to him. Her throat was squirming and her mouth was slightly open, revealing a few sharp fangs. Xiao Bao! Xiao Bao! At this time, a woman ran over, pulled the child up, and hit him on the butt. She shouted, "Why are you running around? What if you get lost?" The child was beaten, but didn't cry. He only hugged his mother tightly, his body trembling. The woman felt a little strange. She looked at the child, and then looked at Jean Renew. She frowned. "Miss, are you okay?" The two maids finally caught up, panting. Jean Renew suddenly woke up from a nightmare. She felt a chill all over and couldn't help but shiver. The sugar-coated Haas fell to the ground. "Oh, I'm fine." Jean Renew's face was pale. He quickly shook his head a few times, then looked at the child and asked, "Little brother, do you still want to eat candied Haas?" The child buried his head in his mother's arms and did not dare to look at Jean Renew. "Mother, let's go home. Let's go home." "Okay, Xiaobao, let's go home." The woman glanced at Jean Renew in bewilderment, picked up the child, and left quickly. Jean Renew looked at the mother and son in a daze. After that, she was no longer in the mood to shop. She walked casually, her heart empty. Her mind was filled with that child. Tender and white skin, fresh and fragrant blood, a thumping heart. "I want to eat. I'm so hungry. Friend, are you hungry?" Suddenly, a young woman in a pink dress walked over from the side and walked side by side with her. Jean Renew tilted her head and looked. The woman was very beautiful and had a very good figure, like a fairy who walked out of an ancient painting. She could not help but ask, "Sister, are you talking to me?" The woman smiled and said, "Sister, New Kuan spies are everywhere in Ronghua City. If you do something to these animals here, they will soon find you." "Animals?" Jean Renew's heart skipped a beat. She looked at the woman carefully and said in horror, "Are you a demon? Follow me." The woman suddenly took her arm and led her into the crowd. Jean Renew wanted to break away from the woman and run away, but deep in her heart, another desire was stirring. She could not help but follow the woman. There were many people in front of them, but they seemed to have entered a deserted area. After a while, the two maids behind them could not find Jean Renew. Miss! The four squires rushed forward and looked around. They were all stunned. She was gone. The woman took Jean Renew to the pork shop. Butcher Zhang's eyes flashed when he saw the woman. The woman nodded at him and then walked directly to the slaughterhouse behind. "What is this place?" Jean Renew asked blankly. "A place to eat." The woman chuckled and replied. The two came to a house. Jean Renew looked around and saw many cages in the house, imprisoning children. They were all children under the age of 10. "Sister, do you know how easy it is to get a fresh blood meal? As long as you know a few human traffickers and give them some money, they will continuously get you the most delicious food. Look at these children. You can choose whichever one you like." The woman licked her lips and said. Jean Renew's breath stagnated. She looked at the children in the cages and broke out in cold sweat. The woman looked at them and pointed at a little boy. "I want this one." Butcher Zhang's wife quickly opened the cage and pulled out the little boy's hair. She handed the boy to the woman and said, 10 taels. The woman paid the money and rubbed the little boy's head. "Little brother, follow me. I will take you to eat delicious food." "Okay." The little boy's stomach was rumbling with hunger. He quickly nodded. "Sister, you haven't chosen yet?" The woman looked back at Jean Renew. Jean Renew was at a loss. At this moment, another 3 men walked in. One of them looked at the woman and said, "Bing Can, you're early today." "Hey Zhuang, I haven't seen you in a while." Bing Can smirked. Zhuang glanced at Jean Renew and asked, "Friend, you look unfamiliar. May I ask who you are?" Jean Renew trembled and said, "My name is Mayu." "Oh, are you a jade that turned into a spirit?" Zhuang sized Jean Renew up and said in surprise, "That's strange. You have a demonic aura on you, but I can't see your true form." "Demonic aura?" Jean Renew quickly looked at herself, but she could not see any demonic aura. Binkin laughed. "Sister, you should have just transformed not long ago. You're still not familiar with how to live among humans." Zhuang showed a look of understanding and did not pursue the matter. He asked, "Recently, Ronghua City has been very lively. Many human goo masters have come. Do you know what is going on?" Binkin nodded. Nu Kuan's new leader, Shun Lian. He subdued the three elders of the pugilistic world and took the opportunity to wantonly recruit experts from all over the world. His force is rapidly expanding. Now, Nu Kuan has many experts and cannot be underestimated. Shun Lian, the human who killed Suilan of Goguryu's son and defeated Feng Ho? Zhuang raised his eyebrows and asked. That's him. Not long later, Suilan of Goguryu will awaken. At that time, Shun Lian will die. Zhuang laughed sinisterly. I'm afraid Shun Lian will not live until then. Oh, Feng Ho has already come to Ronghua City. I heard she went to Wind Demon Mountain, and her strength increased by leaps and bounds. This time, she directly broke into Ronghua City. It should be to take revenge. Binkin said coldly. So that's it. If Feng Ho can kill Shun Lian, Nu Kuan will have no leader and will be in chaos. At that time, you and I can do whatever we want in Ronghua City. Zhuang laughed. Of course. But now, we don't need to be as careful as before. Because of the conflict between the Lin and Huang families, the northern region is already in chaos. Many friends have directly broken into villages, towns, and even big cities to hunt for food. On the contrary, we who have lived in cities for a long time still have to be careful. Bing can rub the little boy's head. His sharp nails were almost embedded in the little boy's scalp, causing the little boy to grimace in pain. Zhuang said, Caution is the parent of safety. Don't underestimate those human goo masters. The more I interact with them, the more I find them interesting. Especially their methods of raising goo, refining goo, and using goo. They are very worthy for us to learn. Brother Zhuang, if these words are spread out, I'm afraid other friends will laugh at us. They won't be willing to associate with these animals, let alone take the initiative to learn from them. Binkin sneered. Zhuang snorted in disdain. That's why those friends grow slowly and are often hunted down. Not understanding your enemy is the most foolish behavior. Binkin nodded in agreement and said, Let's not talk anymore. I'm leaving. He turned around and smiled at Jinrenyu before pulling the child away. Zhuang quickly picked 10 children and also left. Jinrenyu ran out of the pork shop as if she was running away. Standing on the bustling street, her body shivered as if she had fallen into an ice cave. Miss, is that you? Miss, we finally found you. 2 retainers suddenly rushed over with anxious expressions. They were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. It's me, let's go home. Jinrenyu shook her head and hurriedly walked home. While walking, she suddenly saw a carriage passing by. Inside the carriage was Zhuang Ji. Zhuang Ji also instantly noticed her and looked through the window. After being stunned for a moment, he nodded at her and raised his hand that was full of blood. There was a beating heart in his hand. Gulp. Jinrenyu's saliva flowed out. So hungry, Nu Kuan was rapidly expanding. Mo Wushang, Yi Tingyu, Shaoling Yue, these 3 elders had great rallying power. Many strong goo masters were seeking refuge under Shun Lian's command. And this, on one hand, was directly related to the 3 elders' rallying power. On the other hand, it was related to the northern land's environment. Chaotic times had arrived. White River City, 6 demon calamities happened yesterday. The death toll exceeded 100 people. The culprit is suspected to be the Black Goat Demon. Shur Clan Fort, the entire tribe of 365 people were attacked by 3 multicolored tigers. None of them survived. The witnesses who passed by were too frightened and died after saying what they saw and heard. Erdao Ko, the surrounding 5 villages were attacked by unknown demons. 3 villages were massacred, and the other 2 villages also suffered heavy casualties. The survivors described that there were many giant rats roaming around at night, and they spoke human language. Ingwa, a post house only 30 li away from Ronghua City. After a cold wind swept past in the middle of the night, everyone turned into white bones. There is suspected to be bat feces at the scene. Chapter 145. Chaos has finally arrived. In the study room, Shun Lian looked at the latest reports from various places and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Bulinkong said, "The demons are wreaking havoc and the people are in dire straits. Fortunately, we have enough manpower to deal with this situation for now." "That's right. We have 3 more Jianghu veterans as our elders, as well as masters from all over the world. Our strength has more than tripled." Kong Yu looked at the list of new members and smiled from ear to ear. Mo Wushang didn't seem to be optimistic. He sighed and said, "Honestly speaking, with these people, we can temporarily suppress the situation. If the war between the clans is not over after this winter, we will be in big trouble." Yiting Yu nodded and said, "Gang leader, if we fight a long war with the demons, we will definitely lose. We should prepare early." Xiao Liu thought for a while and suggested, "The territory is too big and the people are too spread out. It is necessary to concentrate our strength." "The 3 elders are right," Qin Wentian said. Shun Lian smiled lightly, but didn't continue the topic. Instead, he changed the topic. "Oh right, how's the progress of the 12 elders?" Bulinkong replied, "Last night, 1 person returned early. The others haven't returned yet. This person is called Tu Sanxian. When he returned, he wanted to see gang leader. However, it was already late, so he went back to rest." "Returned early?" "There were still 4 days to the 1-month deadline." "What urgent matter did this Tu Sanxian have?" "Where's Tu Sanxian now?" "Ask him to come and see me," Shun Lian ordered. Seeing this scene, the 3 elders looked at each other, got up, and left. Once they left, Bulinkong smiled and said, "Gang leader, the 3 elders' opinions were more reasonable. Why didn't you agree?" Shun Lian waved his hand and said, "The demons are getting more and more intense. It is necessary to retract the battle line. However, now is not the time. We will discuss this later." Bulinkong nodded and didn't say anything else. He left with Kong Yu. Not long after, Tu Sanxian strode into the room and bowed. Subordinate Tu Sanxian greets Faction Master and Faction Master Chinchio. "No need for formalities," Shun Lian said. "I heard that you came back last night." Tu Sanxian hurriedly replied, "Yes, I followed gang leader's instructions and earnestly persuaded some Jianghu friends to send congratulatory gifts. When I passed by Tingwang Mountain, the head of the Li family, Li Nanhong, and his daughter, Li Youxiang, asked me to send a letter to gang leader. They said it was extremely urgent, so I hurried back." After saying that, he handed over a letter. Shun Lian took it and opened it. His expression gradually became interesting. He could not help but glance at Tu Sanxian. At this moment, Tu Sanxian's heart was in a mess. He didn't know what was wrong with him, but he was somehow convinced by Li Youxiang. He actually believed her words. As long as this letter was delivered, he would definitely be able to obtain an elder's seat. Shun Lian asked calmly, "How did Li Youxiang know that I needed the soup?" "I also found it strange. After I drank, I exhaled a mouthful of alcohol. She said that I speak the truth after drinking. She sniffed and knew everything. No secret can be hidden from her." Tu Sanxian lowered his head and said nervously. Shun Lian smiled and said, "You didn't mention this to anyone, did you?" Tu Sanxian's spirits were lifted. Li Youxiang had specially instructed him not to reveal this matter. He indeed didn't mention it to anyone, so he answered, "No. Well, from now on, you'll keep this matter to yourself." Shun Lian said lightly, "You did well. I'm very satisfied. I'll leave an elder's seat for you." "Thank you for your promotion, gang leader. Long live gang leader." Tu Sanxian was overjoyed. He had been sullen for 7 years. Finally, he could make a name for himself. "Where's the soup?" Shun Lian asked. Tu Sanxian hurriedly took out a gray gourd and said, "It's all here." Li Youxiang said it's enough for gang leader. "All right, leave it here. Go and rest first." Shun Lian waved his hand. Tu Sanxian hurriedly left. Bai Ling, Shun Lian called out, "Young master, I'm here." Bai Ling, who was busy sorting out information, hurriedly ran over. "Send this gourd to the Gu Garden." Shun Lian whispered a few instructions. Bai Ling nodded. Then he found a piece of black cloth and wrapped the gourd around it. Only then did he leave. Li Youxiang, this person actually saw through my intentions. Shun Lian narrowed his eyes. He even had killing intent in his heart. He carefully read the letter again. Shun Bangzhu, this matter concerns the survival of the clan. It is top secret information that only Father and I know. Don't worry, we will not leak this information. To let Shin Bangzhu be at ease, I will go to New Kuan as a hostage after Hua, clan exits Tangwang Mountain. Li Youxiang wrote at the end of the letter. Just by smelling the alcohol breath, you can know other people's secrets. Shun Lian slowly withdrew his killing intent. If this Li Youxiang really had such an ability, it might be of great use. Danger lurks everywhere. I should go into closed cultivation. Shun Lian threw the letter into the furnace and walked into the cultivation room. Gu Garden. An esteemed guest had arrived. Wan Yin personally received him. This person was Tian Clan's clan leader, not an external clan leader. Tian Xiudan, a genuine gold rank Gu master. Tian Clan was not those top clans. They were at the bottom of the hierarchy and only had one gold rank Gu master. Precisely because they were weak, they were the first to be sent out as cannon fodder. But unfortunately, they met the sinister Hua clan and suffered a crushing defeat. The loser not only received no sympathy, but also deep disdain. Tian Clan was mocked by their allies, and their hearts turned cold. However, this was not important. Tian Clan had suffered heavy losses, but they had also left the battlefield. The most important thing now was to cure their clansmen of the earth lung poison. Because of this urgency, Tian Xiudan had no choice but to personally come to Gu Garden. Tian Clan leader, your presence brings light to my humble abode. Wan Yin was full of smiles. Tian Xiudan waved his hand and smiled. Boss Wan, you should know why I am here. Wan Yin said unhurriedly. The white wine lice soup is already out of stock in the market. Tian Clan leader should know this. To obtain these rare resources, we need time. Tian Xiudan did not comment, gritting his teeth. The original price will be doubled. Everything will be paid in restricted grade resources. Wan Yin's breathing stagnated. He lowered his head and pondered, asking, May I ask Tian Clan leader, is Tian Clan urgently requesting the white wine lice soup because a clansman has been poisoned by the earth lung poison? Tian Xiudan smiled bitterly. Gu Garden is truly well informed. In that case, if I can find other antidotes, I can also cure the earth lung poison. Is that possible? Wan Yin asked. Other antidotes? Tian Xiudan's mind shook. Of course, as long as you can cure the earth lung poison, I will pay you every cent, Wan Yin said decisively. Tian Clan leader, please give me 3 days. I will have an answer in 3 days. Tian Xiudan's spirit was lifted. He said excitedly, Good. It's a deal. After Tian Xiudan left, Shuangshi walked in and smiled lightly. Princess, you are too evil. You already got the soup, but patience will bring us greater rewards. We can afford to wait, but the Tian family can't. Wan Yin's lips curled up. In the cultivation room. After subduing the 3 elders, I obtained a total of 6,500 bewilderment points. Shun Lian looked at the interface, joy appearing on his face. Great Wind Rising Gu is Silver Rank 8. Grandmaster Gu and Snake Jade Gu are Silver Rank 6. Teleportation Gu is Silver Rank 1. Wedding Dress Gu is White Rank 1. My talent has not been raised yet. I will not evolve Great Wind Rising Gu for now. When he thought of this, Shun Lian suddenly thought of Yi Ting Yu's Flying Ray, as well as Xiao Ling Yue's Cold Moon Saber. Their attacking prowess was incomparably terrifying. I should evolve Snake Jade Gu to raise its defense, then Teleportation Gu to increase its teleportation distance. After making up his mind, Shun Lian's gaze flashed and the interface flickered. While Snake Jade Gu and Teleportation Gu were evolving, Shun Lian finally had time to try out the new special effect of Great Wind Rising Gu, Wind King Barrier. Wind King Barrier. It seems to be a defensive special effect. It was not hard to guess from the word barrier. Let me give it a try. Shun Lian took a deep breath and shouted, Wind King Enchantment. Woo woo immediately. A tornado surged around Shun Lian and enveloped him from head to toe. The strange thing was that the tornado was very gentle and gradually solidified, like a thin veil covering his body, like he was wearing a windbreaker. Just like this. Shun Lian did not feel anything special. He took out Chasing Wind sword and stabbed himself, instantly piercing through the windbreaker. This made him very surprised. Something is wrong. Shun Lian stood up and immediately felt that something was wrong. There was no reflection of his figure on the bronze statue. Invisible? Shun Lian's heart shook and quickly walked out of the training room. He walked past the study room and passed by Bai Ling, but Bai Ling did not notice him at all. Not even the sound of footsteps. He is completely invisible. Shun Lian walked out of the door. The two guards standing at the door were bewildered. Why did the door suddenly open, but no one came in or out? They shook their heads and closed the door. Interesting. Shun Lian walked around each floor and met many people along the way, but no one noticed him. When he came outside, a strong wind blew. The wind around me is gathering around me. The wind between heaven and earth naturally gathered around him and merged into the windbreaker, or rather, was swallowed by the windbreaker. After a long time, the windbreaker changed and became thicker and thicker, forming a wide windbreaker. A vortex appeared in front of his chest, where the wind was the most powerful. Wind, I need stronger wind. Shun Lian looked around and ran towards a wind gap. When he reached there, the wind whistled and strong gusts of wind blew. However, when all the wind reached Shun Lian, it immediately merged into the windbreaker. Gradually, with Shun Lian as the center, a ball was formed. The ball was green, and the more wind it gathered, the darker the color. It was like a ball of water. Shun Lian grabbed a stone and threw it with all his strength. Then, he teleported to the front. There was a loud boom. The stone hit the green ball, but it was bounced away. The ball was slightly distorted and quickly returned to its original state. This is a real barrier. Shun Lian's eyes lit up. He was overjoyed. However, the Wind King barrier can only be formed by swallowing a lot of wind. It doesn't seem to have much combat value. Shun Lian thought of this and couldn't help but stop smiling. The ball continued to swallow the strong wind. It wasn't over yet. A strange change occurred in his chest. The strong wind continued to gather and compress. Finally, it formed a crystal-like object. It was the size of a grain of rice. One after another, they formed. Shun Lian stayed in the wind gap for half a day and finally obtained 3 crystals. He called them wind crystals. What's the use of the wind crystals? Shun Lian thought, and threw the wind crystals not far away. Immediately, the wind crystals began to swallow the strong wind. With the wind crystals as the center, they also formed a green ball. Moreover, the ball could change its size according to Shun Lian's will and cover a certain area. This is also the Wind King barrier. Shun Lian suddenly understood. The Wind King barrier wasn't a special effect, but a treasure. Chapter 146. Wind Crystal is a treasure. It can instantly turn into a Wind King barrier and form a protective force. It can also continue to devour the surrounding wind and strengthen the protective force. Shun Lian looked at the green ball, his emotions churning like a tide. With a wind crystal in hand, even an ordinary person would be able to protect himself. The significance of this was huge. However, there is no perfect protection in this world. Any defense has a flaw. Shun Lian's mind moved and returned to New Kuan, summoning several Gu masters. Kong Yu and the others came to Shun Lian's training room and asked, "What instructions does leader have for summoning us?" Shun Lian smiled. "I obtained a treasure by chance. This treasure is called Wind Crystal. It is very mystical and can form a wind protection. I called you here to test the limits of this treasure's defense." Wind protection? Kong Yu raised his brows. Shun Lian called a servant and handed the wind crystal to him. Immediately, the wind crystal turned into a green ball of light and enveloped him. The servant was shocked, but he soon found that he could still move freely, and no matter what he did, the ball protected him and moved with him. The scene was very mystical. Kong Yu and the others were shocked. After observing for a while, a short and muscular man came forward. "Leader, I have Earth Spike Gu. Can you let me try?" Shun Lian nodded. The short and muscular man's expression was solemn. He clenched his fist, and his body emitted an earthen yellow light. The moment he stomped his foot, an earth spike suddenly rose from the ground and stabbed towards the servant. The servant was shocked and hurriedly held his head. The earth spike hit the ball. With a popping sound, the ball twisted intensely, and the earth spike moved to the side, collapsing and scattering. It moved. The short and muscular man's breathing stagnated. He was slightly shocked and quickly stomped his foot. Immediately, earth spikes flew towards the servant, but after hitting the ball, they were all twisted and turned to the side, disintegrating into dust. Seeing this, Konyu came to a realization and said, this round ball is made of wind. It has the effect of deflecting, rebounding, and neutralizing force. It does have a strong protective power. Shun Lian smiled and said, Li Su, come and give it a try. Yes. Li Su responded and stepped out of the crowd. He shook his arms and released 2 thorns to wrap around the ball. The thorns on the thorns rubbed against the ball violently. Soon, the thorns were smoothed out and the ball became thinner. The page boy was very nervous. The ball quickly disappeared and turned into a wind robe that covered his body. Li Su put away the thorns and wiped off the sweat beads on his forehead. Panting, he said, It's really not easy to break through. Mai Jinyuan almost couldn't hold on. Shun Lian was non-committal. He took out the second wind crystal and handed it to the manservant. The manservant became bolder and held it in his hand with ease. As the ball rose again, he also stuck out his chest. Bien Chanyu stepped forward and said with a smile, I'll also join in the fun. She drew her bow and released an arrow. A light arrow shot out with a whoosh and hit the ball steadily. The light arrow changed its direction and flew toward the wall in the distance. It seems that direct physical attacks can't break through the protection of wind. Everyone came to this conclusion. Konyu smiled and said, Let me try. As soon as he finished speaking, the thunder palm blasted out. Rolling lightning struck the round ball like a waterfall, crashing into a rock and collapsing. However, part of the lightning passed through the round ball and landed on the servant, causing him to convulse. After the ball was struck by the lightning, it began to tremble and crumble. In the end, it collapsed and scattered. The page boy fell to the ground with smoke coming out of his mouth. It seems that my thunder palm has the power to restrain the guardian of wind. Kongyu's brows flashed with a hint of pride. The page boy got up slowly. His hair was twisted into a twist, which looked very funny. He's fine. He wasn't even seriously injured. It seemed that the ball had resisted most of the thunder. It's hard to break through with physical attacks. Elemental attacks should have some effect. But even Elder Kong's thunder was dissolved. This protection of wind is not simple. Everyone discussed. Shun Lian smiled and waved his hand to dismiss the page boy, saying, Who knows fire attacks? Come and try. Chief, I know. A thick-browed youngster stood up, slightly nervous and excited. Shun Lian held the wind crystal and formed a ball around him, saying, Use all your strength to attack. The thick-browed youngster took a deep breath and puffed up his cheeks. With a whoosh, a pillar of fire shot out from his mouth and engulfed the ball. So it's fire-breathing goo. The fire was too intense. Everyone had to squint their eyes. Under the burning of the fire, the ball quickly became thinner and was about to collapse. Wind helps fire. The fire will consume the wind. Shun Lian finally found the weakness of the Wind King barrier. Seeing that the ball was about to collapse, the thick-browed youngster breathed fire with all his might in order to show off in front of Shun Lian. Stop! Seeing this, Kong Yu and the others quickly stopped him. The thick-browed youngster hurriedly stopped and said in a slightly panicked tone, Chief, I deserve to die. No matter. Shun Lian smiled and waved his hand, saying, It can be seen that the wind crystal is restrained by thunder and fire, but it has a great defensive effect against other attacks. Not bad. It is a good treasure. Everyone nodded. If they had such a treasure to protect them, their chances of survival would greatly increase when fighting against demons or goo masters. At once, everyone became extremely envious of the wind crystal. After that, Shun Lian dismissed the crowd and activated the Wind King enchantment again. He left the New Kuan Association in stealth and came to the Wind Tide Cave by the Wei River. This place was also a famous scenic spot. After the mountain collapsed from the middle, it formed a natural arched cave. All year round, strong winds and waves would surge through. The wind in the Wind Tide Cave was even fiercer and more intense. Shun Lian entered the Wind Tide Cave and sat down cross-legged, continuing to condense wind crystals. In the blink of an eye, 3 days later, Shun Lian obtained 36 wind crystals. Only then did he smile in satisfaction and return to New Kuan. Today was the deadline for the competition between the 12 elder candidates. Shun Lian came to the discussion hall and looked around, frowning. Only 8 elder candidates returned on time. 4 of them were missing. Chief, Bu Lingkong's expression was somewhat unsightly as he said in a low voice, I just received news that the other 4 elder candidates have gone missing. They're nowhere to be found, dead or alive. Shun Lian's brows rose. They seemed to have suddenly disappeared on their way back to Ronghua City. Bu Lingkong said. Right at this time, an ear-piercing scream came from outside. Next, a person rushed into the hall in a panic and reported with a frightened expression. Something big happened. Just now, a bamboo basket suddenly appeared in front of the door. I don't know who put it there, but when I opened it, inside there were 4 human heads. What? There was a burst of exclamation in the hall. Shun Lian glanced at Bu Lingkong. Bu Lingkong waved his hand, and Liang Qizhu and Bian Chanyu immediately stood up and rushed out together. After a while, the 3 of them returned. Bu Lingkong said in a low voice, Those 4 heads belong to the 4 elder candidates who were absent. Did you find anything? Shun Lian narrowed his eyes and asked. Bu Lingkong replied, On the foreheads of the 4 heads, the word wind is engraved. Windy wind? Exactly. Shun Lian's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately thought of the wind demon. Could it be that wind demon? Bu Lingkong frowned and said in surprise. He also thought of the same thing. Wind demon? Mo Wushang's face changed slightly. I heard that faction master defeated the wind demon in Black Tiger Mountain. It's not too surprising that she came to seek revenge. Kong Yu said angrily, The wind demon should have come to Ronghua City. Let's immediately conduct a citywide search. I don't believe that we can't find her. Alas, the wind demon comes and goes without a trace. She can't be killed. Being entangled by her, this... Gong Sun Ji had begun to panic. In New Kuan, Shun Lian was the only one who could compete with the wind demon. The others could only be tortured when they encountered the wind demon. Yuan also said in panic, The wind demon killed 4 elder candidates. Will the next target be us? When everyone heard this, they all felt a great sense of crisis. Their faces were filled with anxiety, and they deeply felt that the wind demon was a troublesome demon that they couldn't deal with. Don't panic, everyone. Shun Lian stood up with a calm expression and said loudly, The wind demon's attack is within my expectations. I already have a plan to deal with it. Everyone calmed down and looked up at Shun Lian. The wind demon's main body is wind. I have a treasure that can devour the wind of heaven and earth. It is the nemesis of the wind demon. Shun Lian opened his palm, and snow-white crystals were exposed to everyone's sight. This is a wind crystal. Kong Yu looked at it and could not help but be overjoyed. It is indeed a wind crystal. Shun Lian smiled. The wind demon is likely to target you. Everyone, be careful when you go out. If you have a wind crystal on you, it can have unexpected effects. Bu Lingkong reminded, that wind demon's companion goo are wind speech goo and wind feeble goo. They belong to the curse type and are extremely terrifying. Everyone, be extra careful. After the meeting was over, Shun Lian went straight to the Shun residence. The wind demon has come to Ronghua City. Its biggest target is probably my family. Shun Lian quickly returned home. When he reached home, he saw that the house was safe and sound. He let out a sigh of relief. He quickly set up 3 wind crystals, following which a huge sphere expanded and enveloped the entire Shun residence. Once the Wind King barrier opened, it started to devour the wind, and its color gradually darkened. Young Master, I have checked. Young Master Fong, young Master Jean, and young Lady Shu are not at home. Chuilon quickly checked everyone. Do you know where they went? Shun Lian's heart sank. Young Master Fong and young Master Jean are not at the gambling house. They are at the brothel. As for young Lady Shu, she heard about a place called Gu Garden and has been running there these days. Chuilon answered, quickly send people to find Shun Fong and Shun Jean. I will go find Shin Xiao Shu. Shun Lian turned around and jumped away, leaving behind a trail of dust. Gu Garden, mystical Gu area. Li Shuangyang, are you lying to me? Shin Xiao Shu placed his hands on his waist and stared angrily at a man with a goatee. Li Shuangyang smiled bitterly. Little ancestor, even if I lie to anyone, I would not dare to lie to you. You said mystical Gu are the best Gu. But I have been looking for a few days and have not found one that has faded with me. Shin Xiao Shu pinched Li Shuangyang's nose. Chapter 147. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Li Shuangyang raised his hand and begged for mercy. Little ancestor, I'll accompany you to the mystical Gu area. Look carefully. I'm sure you'll find a suitable Gu for you. Your elder brother, Shun Lian, is the current leader of New Kuan. I helped him find a mystical Gu, Li Shuangyang vowed. All right, I'll believe you once more. If you can't find it, you'll pay me back. Shin Xiaoshu pouted. The two of them walked towards the mystical Gu area and soon met Duan Rongrong. Little sister Xiaoshu, I told you, Li Shuangyang is not a good person. Duan Rongrong curled her lips and looked at Li Shuangyang mockingly. Rongrong, do you think it's easy for me to make a living? Li Shuangyang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He knew it was Duan Rongrong who spoke ill of him behind his back, which angered Shin Xiaoshu. Shun Xiaoshu smiled and said, Sister Rongrong, I'll go look again. Go. Duan Rongrong waved her hand. Oh, that place. We just found a few new Gu today. Go take a look. All right. Shin Xiaoshu's eyes brightened, and he ran off happily. Li Shuangyang looked at Duan Rongrong and lamented, Rongrong, why do you always bully me? Duan Rongrong said coldly, She's Shun Lian, the most beloved little sister of New Kuan's leader. How dare you cheat her of her money? Are you tired of living? Li Shuangyang shuddered. How is that cheating? Without my guidance, she wouldn't have found the mystical Gu area so quickly, right? Sophistry. Duan Rongrong snorted. Boss One told everyone on the second day that Shun Xiaoshu was Shun Lian's little sister and had to be treated well. You, on the other hand, cheated her of her money. If Boss One finds out, he'll skin you alive. Li Shuangyang's expression twitched. He was really scared. Shun Xiaoshu trotted to the front of a row of shelves and indeed saw a few brighter brocade boxes. Without saying a word, she opened them all and took out the Gu worms one by one. They said that when they meet a Gu that is fated with them, they will have a special feeling. Shin Xiaoshu mumbled to herself. There were many retainers in the Shun residence who were New Kuan's Gu masters. She had heard a lot of things from those Gu masters. This won't work. I don't feel anything for this either. Shin Xiaoshu was a little speechless. It was as if all the venomous insects were rejecting her. I don't believe it. Since I was young, other than those two bastards Shan Fong and Shin Zhan, who didn't like me when they saw me. These Gu. Suddenly, just as she was about to put down a Gu, she shuddered, as if she had been electrocuted. Shin Xiaoshu opened his eyes abruptly and stared at the venomous insect in his palm. The venomous insect was shaped like a silver plate. At first glance, there was nothing special about it, but it gave off an unusual sense of intimacy. Found it. Shin Xiaoshu was so happy that he jumped up and kissed the venomous insect. No one would have thought that when her saliva touched the Gu, a magical thing would happen. The Gu shook violently and enlarged continuously, turning into a silver plate the size of a coin. At the same time, human faces appeared on both sides of the silver plate. One was a happy face, and the other was a crying face. Shin Xiaoshu looked at this scene and was baffled. She exclaimed, "How did it change?" After a while, she suddenly felt a little scared and hurriedly threw the silver plate away. Clang, clang, clang. The silver plate on the ground spun a few rounds, and coincidentally, the happy face was facing up. "Master, your good luck is here." The happy face actually spoke. Shin Xiaoshu was shocked and wanted to run away. However, she had always been more courageous. After taking a step back, she asked carefully, "Are you talking to me?" "Yes." "You are my gu." "Yes, master." Shin Xiaoshu's spirit was lifted. She walked forward and picked up the banknotes. She asked excitedly, "What can you do?" "When you throw away the silver plate and see me, you have good luck. When you see the other side, you have bad luck." The happy face said, "Good luck, bad luck." "Luck." Shin Xiaoshu blinked. "Yes, if master is willing, you can call me Luck Gu." Shin Xiaoshu laughed happily. She said, Luck Gu, I have a gu too. I'm also a gu master." Her face was full of pride. She could not wait to go to the Shunlian to show off. "Master, you've already received good luck once." The happy face reminded. "Oh, then how do I use good luck?" Shin Xiaoshu was completely at a loss. "It is very simple. As long as master is thinking of something, luck will guide you and gradually move towards the result you want. For example, you want some money. Next, you only need to think money, money, money in your heart. Then, you will quickly get some money. However, the amount of money you get depends on how good your luck is." The happy face said seriously. Shin Xiaoshu thought for a while and had a bright idea. She said, "Then I want to always have good luck. Master is so smart. However, this wish is not easy to fulfill. Moreover, having too much luck may not be a good thing. Master, please take care of yourself." The happy face slowly became stiff and did not speak anymore. "Hey, hey." Shin Xiaoshu shouted a few times but did not get a response. She held the silver plate and shook it. Suddenly, her hand slipped and the silver plate flew out of her hand. It flew towards a shelf at the side and hit a brocade box before falling to the other side of the shelf. "Ah!" Shin Xiaoshu shouted and quickly ran over. She looked and saw the silver plate on the ground. The crying face was looking up. "Sob, sob, you're going to have bad luck." The crying face said with tears streaming down her face. Gulp! Shin Xiaoshu swallowed her saliva and swore in her heart that she would never throw the silver plate again. She was going to have bad luck. Suddenly, she frowned and said, "No, I just saw the happy face. He said I would have good luck. Where is it?" The crying face said, "Master, you will have to find it yourself." Shin Xiaoshu blinked and suddenly saw a brocade box beside the silver plate. It fell open and the goo inside fell out. That goo looked like a dice. "Is this my good luck?" Shin Xiaoshu thought for a while and picked up the dice goo. She kissed it. Almost at the next moment, the dice goo trembled and entered her hand, as if it had merged into one. Shin Xiaoshu looked at this scene in a daze. The crying face said, "Ah, master, you actually found the hand goo. This is a good partner for the luck goo. This goo is especially suitable for gambling and lottery. When you use it on the silver plate, the happy face will naturally appear and have good luck." Shin Xiaoshu was overjoyed when she heard this. The crying face continued, "However, there is a limit to the hand goo. It is impossible to have good luck every time. When a number of consecutive good luck reaches 9 times, bad luck will be forced to appear. Master, please be extra careful. Also, the bad luck this time is going to erupt soon. Master, please be prepared." The crying face said with tears flowing down. "What bad luck?" Shin Xiaoshu was a little flustered. "Killing calamity." The crying face cried until it was a mess. Shin Xiaoshu was shocked. She thought for a while and said, "Now, I can throw the silver plate again, right?" "Of course." Shin Xiaoshu encouraged himself. "Hand Chi Gu, help me throw out a happy face." Her right hand flashed, and the silver plate was thrown out. When it landed on the ground, a happy face appeared. "Master, congratulations on your good luck." The happy face smiled brightly. Shin Xiaoshu heaved a sigh of relief and made a wish in her heart. At this moment, a cold wind passed through the rows of shelves and swept her body. That cold wind was bone-chilling, causing her teeth to chatter in pain. "Who is it?" The moment Shin Xiaoshu turned around, she saw an extremely beautiful girl. She was tall and had exquisite facial features. Her beauty was impeccable. "Little sister, how are you?" The beautiful girl appeared behind her unknowingly. She was only 3 to 4 steps away from her and smiled coldly. Sister. Hello. Shin Xiaoshu took a step back and laughed dryly. I'm from New Kuan. Chief Shin Lian sent me to find a little sister called Shin Xiaoshu. Answer me, are you Shin Xiaoshu? The beautiful girl asked with a smile. I Xiaoshu. Just as Shin Xiaoshu opened her mouth, a loud shout came from the door. The beautiful girl snorted and grabbed Shin Xiaoshu's neck, pressing her hand in front of her body. Almost at the next moment, Shun Lian came down from the sky. Wind demon, it's really you. Shun Lian looked at the beautiful girl with a murderous look on her face. Wind demon sneered. Unfortunately, you're too late. Your little sister has already fallen into my hands. Shin Xiaoshu was not afraid and thought, I'll be fine. Shun Lian is my good luck. As expected, the corner of Shun Lian's mouth twitched, and he suddenly shouted, Wind King enchantment. Woo-woo, a round ball expanded and covered the three of them. What's this? Wind Demon's expression suddenly changed, and a gust of wind blew around her. She felt that the power in her body was rapidly draining and being swallowed by the wind, but Shin Xiaoshu was safe and sound in her hands. Wind Demon, you can't escape. Shun Lian sneered and suddenly disappeared. Then, he appeared behind Wind Demon in a flash and swept his dragon claws. Puff! The dragon claws exuded a destructive aura, and Wind Demon was beaten back to her original form, which was an invisible and traceless chilly wind. The chilly wind repeatedly tried to rush out of the round ball, but it was blocked. This is the Wind King enchantment. Falling into it is like catching a turtle in a jar. Shun Lian protected Shin Xiaoshu and jumped out of the round ball. With a thought, the round ball began to compress inwards and continue to shrink. Huh! At this moment, a black shadow suddenly came out from the side. It was a palm-sized bat. The moment the bat appeared, its aura soared and became extremely huge. It was 5 or 6 meters high. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a blood-red moon blade, which rotated and hit the round ball. Boom! The blood-red moon blade hit the round ball. The huge force twisted the round ball violently. The blood-red moon blade finally flew past the round ball and rushed to the shelves behind it, directly cutting all 3 rows of shelves into pieces. The round ball did not break, but a crack appeared, and a chilly wind came out of it. Dark Bat, go quickly! Wind Demon screamed and rushed to the sky. Wind like knife. Chapter 148. In an instant, it was as if a whirlwind was formed by countless sharp blades. The whirlwind whistled and engulfed the Bat Demon. There was a thunderous sound, and sparks flew everywhere. The Bat Demon's body seemed to be made of steel. When the wind blades cut the surface of its body, there was a sound of cold metal colliding. However, the Bat Demon also had a weakness. Its underarms and other soft tissues were still there. After being cut by the wind blades, streaks of blood spurted out. Ah! The Bat Demon screamed and hissed. The sound was ear-piercing. Shin Xiaoshu covered his ears. At the same time, the Bat Demon struggled to flap its wings and rush out of the whirlwind. Its wings spread out like 2 huge black curtains, covering the sky and the sun. A ring of hazy air immediately rippled out. The whirlwind also collapsed and dissipated in the impact. The Bat Demon soared into the sky. However, in an instant, Shun Lian suddenly appeared above its head. A dragon claw as big as a square table clawed down. The Bat Demon's hair stood on end. It could only raise its wings to protect its head. In the next moment, as the dragon claw attacked, the Bat Demon's wings trembled violently. With a tearing sound, the wings were torn apart by the terrifying force and scattered to the sides like a tattered cloth. The dragon claw was like a hot knife through butter. It landed on the Bat Demon's head. The sharp claws penetrated and blood spurted out like flowers. The Bat Demon's body sank heavily. A sharp pain came in the next moment. Even so, the Bat Demon's blood-red eyes flashed with viciousness. It opened its mouth and spat out a mass of bloody air, rolling towards Shin Xiaoshu. At the critical moment, Duan Rongrong suddenly rushed out and stood in front of Shin Xiaoshu. A huge mirror rose in front of her, emitting a strong light and isolating the mass of bloody air in an instant. Gee! After spitting out a mouthful of bloody air, the bat demon let out a strange cry. An invisible sound wave spread out like a wave. Shun Lian's expression changed. He only felt that his internal organs were being attacked by some kind of force. It was raging and shaking, as if his internal organs were about to rupture. Sound wave attack. Shun Lian encountered this type of attack for the first time. The snake jade venomous insect's defense was completely ineffective. Crack, crack, crack. The mirror also cracked and completely shattered. Duan Rongrong's expression changed greatly. With a cry, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Rongrong. Li Xuanyang also ran over. Seeing this scene, he immediately squeezed out a strange smile. No one knew what had happened, but the invisible sound waves seemed to have been twisted by some strange force and avoided Li Xuanyang, Duan Rongrong, and Shen Xiaoshu. The bat demon was shocked. Hee, my smiling face goo has a miraculous power. You won't hit a smiling face. No matter how powerful your attack is, it won't be able to hit me. Li Xuanyang laughed. The bat monster didn't stop hissing because the sound wave was effective against Shun Lian. Shun Lian was also suffering from its attack. You're courting death. Shun Lian's murderous intent was boiling. He had a set of body-type goo in his body, and his endurance was much higher than ordinary people. He gritted his teeth, and the heaven-eroding sword appeared in his left hand out of thin air. It rapidly grew in size, and with rolling black lightning, it slashed towards the bat demon's neck. Chi! A cracking sound echoed. The bat demon let out a mournful howl. Its head flew off from its body, and its huge body collapsed with a loud crash. But no one could have expected that the bat's head that was rolling on the ground shrunk to the size of a peanut and turned into a black light that suddenly flew away. Shun Lian's eyes twitched, and he immediately chased after it. The black light flew past rows of shelves and escaped through the door. It quickly flew up and suddenly drilled into the rock wall and entered a small hole that looked like a mouse hole. Under Dharma characteristic heaven and earth, Shun Lian could still lock onto that black light. He found that it had entered the rock layer and moved up through the intricate cracks, finally escaping the range of his divine sense. Demon, it didn't die even after its head was cut off. Shun Lian pursed his lips. After catching his breath, he quickly returned to Shun Xiaoshu's side. Shun Lian, that was a demon, right? Shun Xiaoshu didn't seem to be frightened. Instead, he was very interested. Shun Lian was speechless. He sighed and replied, that woman is a wind demon. She is good at transformation, and her curse damage is extremely terrifying. Next, he explained in detail how a wind demon harmed people and reminded her to be careful in the future. Then, he gave her a wind crystal. As for that bat demon called Dark Bat, he didn't know its origin and didn't know where it came from. Shun Xiaoshu listened with great interest, his eyes shining as he said in surprise, the world of goo masters is so interesting. It turns out demons also use goo. Saying so, he quickly raised the silver plate in his hand and proudly showed off. Shun Lian, I'm also a goo master now. Shun Lian, who was looking at Duan Rongrong, suddenly paused and looked at her in surprise. Before he could ask anything, many people suddenly rushed in. They were all Goo Garden's guards. Who dares to behave atrociously in Goo Garden? The guards only heard the sounds of fighting, but didn't know what had happened. Duan Rongrong quickly ran over and explained. Shun Bangzhu, Sister Xiaoshu. After returning, Duan Rongrong looked at the collapsed shelf and the scattered brocade boxes on the ground and smiled bitterly. I'll have to trouble the two of you to take a rest. A demon has sneaked into Goo Garden and will be strictly checked to prevent such things from happening again. Oh, I've already called a healing Goo Master to check Sister Xiaoshu's body. Shun Lian nodded and pulled Shen Xiaoshu out. Just as they left, they bumped into Shuang Shi. Shen Bangzhu, what is going on? Shuang Shi looked at the headless bat demon and frowned. A demon came to Goo Garden to hunt. This was something that had never happened before. Shun Lian said lightly, it is fine now. Oh, Shuangshi's expression changed and didn't ask further, instead smiling. You came at the right time. That business is done. This way, please. A moment later, Shun Lian and Shun Xiaoshu left Gu Garden. In the carriage, Shun Xiaoshu explained the matter in detail, and Shun Lian was very surprised. Luck Gu Han Chi Gu. Shun Lian frowned. You didn't use blood to refine them. You only kissed them and they were refined successfully? Shun Xiaoshu nodded, her gaze flashing as she said in surprise, That's right. Everyone used blood to refine them. Why did I do it? Shun Lian couldn't figure it out, but he guessed that after Shun Xiaoshu's saliva came into contact with the goo, it formed a mental connection with the goo. Blood is the strongest medium in a human body. Saliva, in theory, it should be possible too, but the effect is definitely not as good as blood. Shun Lian thought of this, and his mind shook. He couldn't help but stare deeply at Shun Xiaoshu. This little girl's physique was different from ordinary people. My father is an ordinary person. Second mother she. Shun Lian suddenly remembered that second mother's background was a mystery. She grew up in a nunnery and later met Shun Wangquan. She fell in love with him and returned to the secular world to marry into the Shun family. Shun Xiaoshu was a little scared by his stare and asked, Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Shun Lian thought for a while and said seriously, I can't tell at the moment, but your good luck can be used 8 more times. After 8 times, it will be bad luck. It's no small matter. In other words, you have to prepare yourself for the next 8 times of good luck to overcome that bad luck. Only then can you progress step by step and become stronger. Shun Xiaoshu grinned and said arrogantly, Don't worry, I'll be able to save you next time. Shun Lian wished in his heart, It's snowing. Outside the carriage window, pure white snowflakes danced, spun, drifted, and finally landed on the ground. Soon, everything was covered in silver. The ground was silvery white and clean. This snow also indicated the arrival of winter. The short autumn passed in a flash and ushered in the long winter. Many people will die this winter. Shun Lian sighed in his heart, and his gaze became deeper. As the weather turned colder, the living environment in the northern land became worse. Demons began to move out unscrupulously, hunting and eating wantonly. 9 out of 10 villages were in trouble, and everyone was terrified. Believe in the human ancestor. Believe in the human ancestor. A man in a white robe with a hood had cracked lips and a withered face. However, his gaze was exceptionally determined, and his heart was surging with an unshakable strong belief. This man was called Zhao Mo. His father was a follower of the human ancestor sect. Therefore, he had been influenced by what he saw and heard since he was young and worshipped the human ancestor as a god. His belief in the human ancestor was incomparably firm. Zhao Mo walked on the road that was constantly accumulating snow. He was on his way to the next village to preach the greatness of the human ancestor to the suffering people. The snow was getting heavier. The first snow of winter was a heavy snowfall that covered the sky and the earth. Zhao Mo was also one of the victims of this sudden heavy snow. He wrapped himself in a snow-white robe and exhaled a white breath. Suddenly, he found a run-down temple in front of him and could not help but feel a sense of joy as if he had escaped death. There was a firelight in the run-down temple. Is there anyone here? Zhao Mo stood at the door and stretched his head to look inside. He saw a young scholar with a jade-like face sitting in front of a bonfire and roasting a plump carp. The young scholar tilted his head and smiled. Friend, it's snowing heavily outside. Come in and take shelter. Zhao Mo was overjoyed. He hurried to the bonfire and bowed before sitting down. He stretched out his hand and rubbed the fire. Waves of warmth spread over, dispelling the coldness in his body. I'm Zhao Mo, a follower of the human ancestor sect. May I know who you are? Zhao Mo asked politely. The young scholar nodded and said, I'm Qiu Du, what a strange name. Zhao Mo thought, so, but his expression did not change. He smiled and said, Brother, where are you heading to? Qiu Du pointed to the south and said, White River City. Zhao Mo smiled happily. What a coincidence. I'm also heading south. Perhaps we can travel together. Qiu Du shook his head. You won't want to travel with me. Why? Zhao Mo was stunned. Because you won't like my friend. Your friend? Zhao Mo looked around. There was no one else in the rundown temple. Qiu Du raised the corner of his mouth and revealed a devilish smile. The bonfire crackled and the surrounding scene shook. Zhao Mo's vision blurred. He saw that the carp that was being roasted over the bonfire had turned into a human arm. Around it, huge figures appeared. Some had tentacles, some had scales, some had fangs. Chapter 149. Zhao Mo's hair stood on end. His body froze on the spot. The great fear made him unable to move. It tastes good. Qiu Du chewed slowly. An expression of enjoyment appeared on his face. His smile was so clean, without a speck of dust, like a son of God. After taking a bite, Qiu Du threw the human arm behind him, and immediately a bloody mouth swallowed the entire arm. The whole world was filled with the sound of bones being chewed. Zhao Mo began to tremble. Qiu Du looked at him again and smiled. Are you afraid? Zhao Mo opened his mouth, but could not say a word. If I tell you that my friends and I will not hurt you, will you still be afraid? Qiu Du's eyes flashed. Really? Zhao Mo was deeply moved. He had a strong sense of joy, as if he saw a trace of light in the endless darkness. However, he could not help but ask in surprise why. Qiu Du could not help but laugh. It's a pity to meet a person full of faith in this place in the middle of nowhere and eat you. Zhao Mo took a deep breath. Only then did he realize that in just an instant, his clothes were already drenched in cold sweat. There seemed to be a wet and warm feeling at his crotch. This made him very embarrassed. He was so scared that he actually peed. Qiu Du said, the human ancestor sect has a sect master, elders, deacons, preachers, disciples, and believers, forming a huge and strict organization. Your preacher? Zhao Mo was a little shocked. A demon actually knew so much about the human ancestor sect. He quickly answered, yes, I was promoted from a disciple to a preacher last month. Qiu Du said, actually, I'm friends with your sect master. When Zhao Mo heard this, his eyes instantly widened to the extreme. He blurted out, impossible. The teachings of the human ancestor sect were to save the common people and eliminate demons. Qiu Du did not comment, but changed the topic. Your sect master's wife is a peerless beauty. I heard that her body is soft and fragrant. Her skin is tender and smooth like milk. She's one of the top seductive beauties in the world. Have you seen her before? An exquisite face uncontrollably appeared in Zhao Mo's mind. It was a year ago when he was kneeling in the middle of countless believers. He caught a glimpse of the hierarch's wife from a distance of dozens of meters. Since then, he had been haunted by her in his dreams, unable to forget her. At this moment, there was a portrait of the hierarch's wife in his arms. He had drawn it based on the memory of that one glance. Every time he felt lonely, he would unfold the scroll and stare at the woman in the portrait in a daze. This would give him an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Zhao Mo couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He replied, I've only seen Madame Hierarch once, and it was from a very far distance. Actually, I didn't see what she looked like. Qiu Du suddenly smiled brightly. What if I can fulfill your wish? Zhao Mo grew suspicious. What wish? Greetings, Madame Hierarch. Qiu Du said word by word. As his voice fell, the bonfire exploded. Zhao Mo's vision blurred, and the scene suddenly changed. Zhao Mo seemed to have returned to that day when the hierarch and Madame Hierarch stood side by side on the sacred altar. There were tens of thousands of believers kneeling below the sacred altar, and he was just an inconspicuous existence in the crowd. However, it was on that day that a terrifying thought appeared in his mind. He wanted to walk up the sacred altar, hold Madame Hierarch's hand, and stand side by side with her. At this moment, he returned to that day. He was still kneeling, but he didn't want to kneel anymore. He stood up and walked forward until he reached the sacred altar. Madame Hierarch looked at him. Her appearance was clearly imprinted in his mind. She was even more beautiful than he had imagined. Suddenly, Madame Hierarch reached out her hand and revealed a charming smile at him. Zhao Mo's emotions surged, and he gently grabbed her hand. It was as if they were the only ones left in the world. Madame Hierarch's red lips parted slightly. and she handed him a knife. I want you. Give me everything you have. All right, I'll give it all to you. Zhao Mo's expression was crazy. He took the knife and began to cut off his flesh piece by piece and handed it to Madame Hierarch. And it's delicious. Madame Hierarch ate his flesh, and her lips became even redder, like a burning flame. After a long, long time, Zhao Mo's vision swayed, and Madame Hierarch disappeared. Only Qiu Du, who was chewing something, was smiling at him. Suddenly, boundless pain assaulted him. Zhao Mo looked at his body, and his soul flew out of his body. Below the neck, all the flesh on his body had been cut off, and only his bones were left. He could even see his internal organs, beating heart, wriggling lungs. Do you see? Life is so miraculous, so great. Qiu Du's eyes lit up as he smiled. You should have died long ago, but you didn't. Zhao Mo felt like he was about to die. Didn't you say? His eyes were gradually filled with fear. I said that my friends and I won't hurt you, but I didn't say that you won't hurt yourself. Qiu Du's smile was incomparably resplendent. You should be proud of yourself. You're the first person who didn't die immediately after cutting off all the flesh on your body. Zhao Mo slowly fell down. A human's desire is indeed bottomless. Qiu Du looked at Zhao Mo calmly. This might be the reason why human ancestor failed. He created a race that is never satisfied. Such a race must be exterminated. Qiu Du stood up and looked toward the south. He calmly ordered, attack White River City and massacre the city. White River City had a population of close to 250,000. In the entire north, White River City was considered a medium-sized city, and the aristocratic family behind it was Family Lin. In other words, this was the territory under Nu Kuan's jurisdiction. The imperial court placed 1,000 guards here. Nu Kuan also set up a hall in the city, and a deacon was in charge of it. It was under the command of Elder Gong Sunji, and in the city, there was a relatively large underworld sect, Thunderstorm Hall. It had already submitted to Nu Kuan, and Nu Kuan's flag was hung at the entrance of the hall, not counting the aristocratic family behind it. This was the main force protecting the city. Snow fluttered in the air. White River City was wrapped in silver, and the ancient city was as white as snow. It was filled with a poetic atmosphere. The streets and alleys were empty, and the pedestrians had already returned to their respective places to avoid the first snowfall of winter. Sigh. I hope the snow can make those monsters stop. Wang Qingteng stood in front of a burning stove, warming his hands. He was the deacon in charge of White River City in Nu Kuan. White River City. A while ago, 6 monster calamities happened in a single day, and the death toll exceeded 100 people. These 6 monster calamities were like a huge rock pressing down on his chest. The culprit was suspected to be the Black Goat Demon. That Black Goat Demon's antennae are very powerful. It's impossible to block its antennae. What's more terrifying is that the Black Goat Demon doesn't act alone. There are many small monsters following it. Wang Qingting felt troubled. He hoped that the headquarters could send some reinforcements. Counting the days, the reinforcements should be here soon. In the entire White River City, are you the strongest person? Suddenly, an indifferent voice sounded from behind Wang Qingting. Wang Qingting was startled. Someone had silently appeared behind him, and he did not notice it at all. Turning around, Wang Qingting saw a handsome young scholar. He raised his eyebrows and sized him up, asking in a deep voice, "Who are you?" Qiu Du said indifferently, "White River City is mine." Wang Qingteng did not understand the meaning of this sentence, but he felt great danger. In the next moment, he heard countless screams coming from all directions. The mournful screams rose and fell one after another. The city gate is already in my hands. The people in the city can't escape. You can't change anything. Qiu Du looked at Wang Qingting calmly, as if he was looking at a dead man. Wang Qingting roared unwillingly. The moment he opened his eyes, his brown pupils quickly turned green. With a flash, 2 rays of light shot towards Qiu Du with a loud bang. The ground exploded. The green light passed through Qiu Du's body and shot into the ground, creating 2 deep pits. Qiu Du's body shook for a while before fading away. It was clearly an illusion. Eyes shining, what kind of goo is this? Xiao Du asked calmly from not far away. Wang Qingting sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes had the ability to see through illusions, but he could not see that it was an illusion. This could only mean one thing. Xiao Du was much stronger than him. This made him feel a deep sense of despair. Not fighting anymore, Xiao Du chuckled and turned around. Follow me. I'll show you the scenery outside. Wang Qingting muttered to himself and followed Xiao Du out. When he came to the street outside, he heard all kinds of horrified screams that continued to ring out. Suddenly, a woman ran out of the door with a child in her arms. As she was running, a three-headed monster rushed out from behind her. It looked like a gray-skinned wolf and had a huge body. It was 5 meters long and 3 meters tall. It looked very fierce. Three-headed wolf. Wang Qingtang recognized the monster at a glance and immediately cried out. He wanted to rush out to save the woman and child, but when he saw Xiao Du beside him, great despair surged in his heart and he felt powerless. He closed his eyes. The woman's screams and the child's cries could be heard. When he opened his eyes again, the ground was covered in blood. The three-headed wolf had already jumped into another house, causing even more screams. You are massacring the city. Wang Qingting finally realized what had happened and shuddered. Xiao Du nodded and smiled. Humans always say that you are a pile of loose sand and that your hearts are not united. In fact, in the eyes of us demons, you are very united. You gather together and concentrate your strength to protect a place. Compared to demons, you are more organized and disciplined. This allows you to survive and continue living well. Demons are different. Many demons live alone. The stronger the demon, the more they like to live alone. There are very few demons that form groups, such as the Fox Clan and the Dragon Clan. Generally speaking, only those who have reached the level of Demon King can gather demons to listen to orders. The various demon kings often kill each other. It can be said that the world of demons is even crueler. What are you trying to say? Wang Qingting was puzzled.